Good to see you, everyone. My name is Robbie Howell, and guess what? It's time for another actual play. We're doing more than usual this month because I've decided to start recording my Enclave Day missions, and I unfortunately missed Enclave Day, so we're doing some catch-up. But fortunately, I have a wonderful group. These guys are absolute cornerstones of the Enclave community, and I am delighted to have them here on an actual play with me today. Introduce yourselves, gentlemen.
Hello, my name is Tomáš. I am one of the cornerstones of the Enclave community, apparently. And today I'll be playing the Hive, which is an illusionist that also happens to be about 50 or 60 rats in a trench coat. So, quite a unique character, certainly.
And next up, Julian.
So do you think this is the point I'm supposed to jump in? Let's get that out of the way. So, hi, I'm Julian. I've been here for about a month. That month did somehow turn me into a pillar of the community, I guess. I'm glad you think so. And I'm going to be playing my Thane, John Sinclair, who is, I guess, about the most stereotypical Thane I could think of, and we shall see.
Marvelous. And lastly,
And my name is Reece. I've been playing Enclave since about the end of the Kickstarter for Advent Edition. Today I will be playing a wanderer named Hasad, who is definitely not an exploit at all.
And speaking of which, let's hear a little more info about your characters in that same order. If you have any more to share, don't feel like you need to go into any super amount of depth, just a couple more lines.
Okay. So again, Hive is a bunch of rats in a trench coat, of course, wearing the classical wizardry hat that is associated with illusionist. Sometimes it's a little bit goofy, sometimes it's a little bit psychotic. Really depends on the setting. We'll see which one it's going to be today. It likes to be sneaky, and sometimes it likes to stab people if it's convenient. So we'll see how it goes because it recently got a knife.
Quite. Of note, I apologize for clattering in the background. My children have discovered the joy of throwing Legos into the trash can. Next, let's hear more about John.
All right, so going off me trying to make him a bit stereotypical, he is based on every kind of like sci-fi military-esque commander you have ever seen. Most specifically of two specific commanders I will not get into. If you know the show I'm talking about, you can get it based on his name. And I like to have him be not combat averse, but trying to do things with diplomacy, so to speak.
Marvelous. And lastly, a little more about Hasad.
So Hasad was initially designed first and foremost to be a wanderer who is capable of fighting, and I've been steadily improving him in that regard over time. The main thing that makes him good at fighting is the fact that his walking stick is an enormous scythe, which still somehow does not appear suspicious. In addition to that, I also have a creative interpretation of familiar face, which essentially allows me to rewrite reality on a whim. Definitely a fair and balanced character, everyone.
I haven't had serious issues with him yet, and he's fun. And with that group in mind, I received the focus words, current predator credibility, Aurora Borealis, and Krautrock. Here's the mission I've come up with for you guys. You are being sent to a manor house where recently something has taken place that no one in the house yet realizes is a death. Into one of like the main studies of the room, the son of the master of the house was found, or rather an ice statue of him was found, surrounded by gold coins, frozen away. Everyone in the house, besides the head servant, assumes that this is a prank. And that, he commissioned an ice statue of himself and put it in his desk to freak everyone out. He's a headstrong young man, though not necessarily known for japes. The head servant, however, who knows the itinerary of everyone involved and knows that the sun had some important stuff to do today, is certain that there is something far more dangerous afoot. It turns out, from what intel the Enclave has been able to gather, there is much more afoot. Your job is to evacuate everyone from the house. It is a manor. It's large. And if you cannot evacuate everyone, go for as many as possible. And if you must prioritize the master of the house and his family. It's just him and his wife, his son now being dead. That ice statue is actually his son. No one else knows this yet for sure, besides you guys, and only because the Enclave is telling you. It will be quite hard to prove, I will add. Of note, the main thing that is going to be a little different here is that this house is going to be about twice as large in terms of height and things as you guys will be used to, given that the master of the house and his family are actually not humans. They belong to almost a troll-like race and are disproportionately large and strong, but in this part of the world are merchants for the most part, and typically are extremely wealthy, having built extensive trade empires, though many humans work for him. The head of staff is a human, as are most of the staff members. Not all of them, though. The things to note is that the trolls refer to humans as Kleiners, and other than that, there are no, dramatic differences between them. They respect humans and will happily work with them. But you guys will be immediately seen and known to be foreign to some degree. Though that's not a huge surprise, given that, like I said, they are a mercantile empire, and this manor is on one of their core trading outpost islands. Let me think. Any other important piece of information? Yes. Like I said, all you have to do is evacuate them, get them out of the manor. That is all you need to do. Also of note, the golden coins that were found around the sun are real coins in local currency, and is a substantial amount of money, even among the ranks of these wealthy mercantile trolls. I should note the name of their folk is the Dagas. So if you hear Dagas, that's what's being referred to. Questions?
Okay, so I think this is a very in-character question for the Hive. Can we burn down the manor?
Burning down the manor is actually completely acceptable.
That may be a quite easy way to convince people that they should leave. that's my idea.
Only problem with that is if we burn it down and then it turns out that some of them, particularly the master, isn't able to leave because they get, caught on fire. Could be a slight issue.
Yeah. Do we know a approximate number of people that are in here?
Yeah. From what you guys have been able to tell, or what the Enclave can give you, it seems to be that there are no more than 5 Dagas, of whom the only 2 super relevant ones are the master and his wife, alongside about 11 odd humans. I should note that almost half of the population of the house is going to be in the room you are porting into, which is the master's son's study.
How is that going to be explained, or is it not going to be explained at all?
The head of staff will be able to cover for you.
Okay.
Other questions?
So the head of staff is the one who's the client, is that correct?
Yes, the head of staff is your employer. His name is Lutzan.
And is he human or is he one of the Dagas?
He is human.
Do they have 2 different sets of furniture, one for humans and one for the Dagas? That's good. Okay.
In fact, Daga's furniture is often built with a human version built into the side.
Nice. That wasn't a very relevant question, but I just thought it's interesting.
Quite.
Yeah. I feel like that's probably going to... Well, I don't know about their culture. Maybe the humans here don't mind, but I feel like to humans from most cultures, if you're just you've got your host sitting on this big imposing chair, and then there's just like a little tiny chair built into the side of it for you to sit on. It might feel ever so slightly condescending.
Oh, it definitely is. The Dagas, while they treat humans well, they are not enemies of the humans, but they definitely consider themselves of higher status. They tend to be much wealthier. They're obviously much bigger and stronger. And they are very intelligent. You could maybe even argue, on average, more intelligent than humans.
Do they have any interesting superstitions that would be able to aid us?
The Dagas tend to be a less superstitious crowd than humans. It is known among their kind that, it's common among their kind that when they die, they turn to stone. Turning to ice is not really a thing, but turning to stone is. And so they do tend to be a little superstitious around talk of, like, not talk of rocks, right? That's dumb. But, like, talk of things rendering solid, Ice in general, you could see as like an allusion to death in some of their poetry, for example. And so there's some symbolic representativeness of this, but it's not substantial enough to be dramatic.
Okay. And what sort of technology level do they have?
You can think of this as very high medieval, like on the cusp of Renaissance.
Okay.
There is magic in this society, but there isn't a ton, and the Dagas are not proficient with magic in general. Any final questions?
Probably not.
Not sure if you're going to answer the question, but we are asked to evacuate people out of their manor, which does seem an innocent enough request. Are we to expect or prepare for combat of any sort?
Yes, 100%. There is a serious threat afoot.
All right.
Nice.
I mean, but I think they wouldn't send a Dane otherwise, so...
Well, Thanes are pretty good with diplomacy, but in this case, there is something bigger. In that case, brought to assembly. Inside one of the beautifully decorated, always in shades of gray, Enclave meeting rooms, we will say that John is the first there, and Hasad is the second to arrive. Take it away from Hasad's entry, you two.
Okay. I step into the room, and for those who are watching along, I'll just pop a quick picture of my character into the chat. But for everybody listening to this later on, Hasad wears white and blue robes and carries, as I mentioned earlier, a very oversized scythe. He also has a brown satchel and wears brown sandals. He's got brown hair and a generally sort of average build. So yeah, anyway, I just walk into this meeting room, and normally people seeing Hasad have a tendency to underestimate his scythe, but as it happens, Enclave HQ is protected from mind-altering magics, so in this instance, that effect does not apply.
Quite. And John, any responses to Hasad entering, or lead-ins that you'd like to give us?
Well, first I'm also going to try to describe
Sure.
what John looks like, which is basically he is sort of tall, human build, very broad, so to speak, so have like the kind of military man build you would expect.
Mm-hmm.
And he's wearing a sci-fi-esque uniform, almost to the point that a human of our nation would call it generic, so to speak, with a belt of different pouches along his waist. And the only other thing of note is that his long brown hair and beard are tied into different braids, one in the front, one in the back. And again, having met Hasad already, John will just stand up, reach out his hands. All right there, laddie. Nice to meet you again. How you been, my friend?
Very well. Are you also doing all right? I say while shaking his hand.
Yes, quite. I do have to say, been in a nice bit of interesting missions lately. You?
quite a quiet time for me. Not that active, but I'm glad to be back.
All right then.
And at this point, the group of you would hear a little bit of scratching outside as the Hive enters. Tomáš, give us a bit of lead-in.
Okay. The doors open slightly, not fully, and the hive just somehow scrapes through the slightly open doors, just kind of like leaning against the wall, peeks out, and then presumably notices that it's being watched by both of you. So it quickly opens the door and says, "Hello, we are the hive," and does some sort of flourish with its hand and then bows down, show officially. I think it has seen. I think it has seen Julian's character.
Yeah, it's seen John before.
John. So, but I don't think I have seen Hasad. Right.
I don't believe so, no.
To be honest, I think the hive doesn't exactly have the best memory when it comes to people, so I don't think it remembers John. So, after it does its little introduction, it again stands upright, and as it begins to like sort of reassemble, obviously it doesn't seem to be entirely human-like movements, as whatever is hidden underneath the cloak seems to be a little bit more fluid than a normal organical person, whatever should be. And then it just kind of stands there and waits for someone to say something.
A pleasure to meet you.
John, having not met enough Enclave agents yet to forget about any of them, sort of walks up to the hive, does a kind of bow, remembering that it didn't enjoy shaking the hand too much the last time. Nice to see you, man. How you been?
We have been good. Then the hive considers whether it should ask the same question back, but decides not to.
Any follow-up?
Great.
Oh yeah.
It's been actually like in a deep thought, just sort of like covering its mouth with its sleeve, despite the fact that it doesn't really have any mouth at all. It's just a trench coat with a literal wizarding head on top.
Pardon, Julian, fire away.
Yeah, great. John says as he turns around to the table and takes a seat.
I will also sit at the table, but I am like glancing across at the hive, trying to get a good look at it under the hat and coat and such.
And it's never quite possible, at least not yet.
Nope.
Yeah.
And
So
after being deep in thought, what would the hive say or do?
Not much. It's just standing there waiting for someone to say something. Right? It doesn't exactly start conversations very often on its own. But I think if it notices that it's being watched by Hasad, which probably would, with 4 pluses to sensory, maybe Hasad is going to hear a very faint, panicked squeak from within. Quickly, like the entire hive goes completely stiff.
They raise one eyebrow, but other than that, no particular reaction to the squeak.
And moments after the hive goes stiff, the door slides open and an attendant enters and gently beckons for you to follow. From here, brought through Enclave HQ, underneath its soaring archways and through its labyrinthine halls to the teleportation chamber with its gently gleaming paths, dim, rounded walls and corners, and the familiar disembodied voice saying, "Agents, please take your places atop the telepads. Final actions before we disembark."
The hive, full of suspicion, is definitely going to wait for Hasad to step onto the telepad first.
I will do so.
Then it does so as well, making sure that all of its movements seem as human-like as possible.
Yeah. And
paying great attention to like every single step.
Quite. And final notes from John before we begin.
None at this point.
Brilliant.
Let's get it on.
In that case, you feel your bodies dissociate, beginning at your toes or your bottommost rats, and rising through your bodies until it hits your eyes or your topmost rats, and your vision explodes. You come to your senses in a warm room. It's beautifully decorated with elaborate trim lining the walls and even wallpaper, though admittedly somewhat primitive compared to what a more modern setting would produce. There are grand paintings on the walls, and the furniture is, as you might expect, oversized and huge, with huge bookcases and huge books, each one having a smaller version built into the bottom. So the big bookcase has a human bookcase at the bottom that has human-sized books. There are 2 great bay windows in the room, both of which have their curtains drawn, and you can see that as you are entering, you hear an immediate murmur of conversation. There are a group of humans nearby, all of whom are surrounding the desk, picking up the coins that litter the ground around it. The ice statue is seated at the desk. It has a pen in its hand, not frozen. Its clothes are still on, not frozen, and it's looking over kind of in your general direction, clearly the position it was in when it froze away. The only other thing of note, besides the group of humans collecting coins on the ground and talking to each other, is the other large Dagas at the side of the statue. He is, by like standard fantasy definitions, obviously troll-like in appearance. You know, big oversized features, ugly, warty, that sort of thing, barely any hair. But he is wearing beautiful, sumptuous clothing and has on a pair of like old-timey spectacles. As you see that he is like examining one of the coins and is kind of like eyeballing it backward and forward while speaking fluently out of the side of his mouth towards a human who is seated at the top of the desk. The desk, by the way, does have a staircase built into the side so that humans can easily access the top. Immediate actions upon porting into... Oh, and of note, it's warm because there's a fireplace in here. The ice statue is noticeably melting. Immediate actions upon entering, we will begin with the Hive.
The Hive, trying to blend in with the high society, is going to immediately use its folding fan and try to obscure its face with it, which may not be the best idea because that's only going to draw attention to it.
Yep.
That's the magical effect of the folding fan. But you know, just trying to seem human-like.
And after doing so, what would the Hive like to do?
Just observe, like peek from around the folding fan if it's being watched, and if there's in general any sort of reaction to us appearing.
No immediate reaction. People are more focused on the ice sculpture and especially the gold. And the thing that the Hive immediately notices upon entering is that they hear the people, the humans on the ground, murmuring to each other, "Gold, it's real. It's real." Immediate actions now from John.
Going off the hint that there is a somewhat important person sitting on top of the desk talking to the owner of the manor, I would like to usher the guys with, "All right then, shall we?" into the direction of the desk. So I'll walk towards it.
Yeah, absolutely. You saying this does not actually draw the eyes of any of the humans with the gold, but it does draw the eyes of the master of the house, who kind of like politely turns up and takes off his glasses, leaving his teeny beady eyes incredibly small in his face. As John approaches, before we ask if the Hive follows, Hasad, immediate actions upon arrival.
Yes, I will just sort of like stroke my chin thoughtfully and say, to myself as I pause to consider the situation that I have found myself in. And I'm using fork in the road immediately.
Yeah.
So I am guessing that the threat these people face is some sort of ice elemental, and I would like the vision to center around what it actually is, whether my guess is correct or not.
Yep, absolutely. And in your vision, we had the Olympics recently, so I guess this is apropos. You know the funny thing that people like to make fun of, but is actually kind of cool, looking at the Olympics with the long tassel, like the gymnastics floor routine?
No idea.
Vaguely.
Yeah. So imagine, if you would, an incredibly long, colorful streamer of all different colors sparkling with light. And in Hasad's vision, he would see there's darkness, and then this long, colorful streamer starts to dance intricate lines in front of his eyes. And from the streamer, you see what initially looks like snow, and then you see it glints as gold. And that is when your vision ends.
And when you say snow, is that like snowflakes or like mounds of snow?
Like, it looks as though it is shedding large flakes of snow that glint with gold just before your vision ends.
Okay, very nice.
Immediate actions from Hasad after he comes back to his senses. John is at this point striding over towards the desk.
I just will follow on after him while I contemplate my findings.
Quite. Hive,
Internally.
actions from you from here.
Yeah. So I find it quite interesting that no one else beyond Daga has reacted.
Yeah.
Even after John presumably, not necessarily yelling, but probably speaking in higher
Yeah, exactly.
tone. So does it seem like the people are like unnaturally drawn to the gold, or is it just like people that aren't so rich, just fascinated with the prospect of coins suddenly being everywhere?
What would the Hive be going off of to ascertain this? Like, what would his experience be with similar situations? Because not being a human himself, it's kind of hard for him to ascertain a normal human reaction to something.
Right. That being said, it did work with criminals in the past, and it did very much commit several break-ins and whatever and thefts. So it probably knows how people react in general from being around
Yeah.
Near valuable stuff.
Yeah.
And I would be probably like trying to look at their eyes, see just how much they concentrate, and if they seem to be like unnaturally focused for humans. Though I guess that would be sort of maybe more spirit territory than sensory.
Sure. You do have the quad plus to sensory. And because of that, the things you would notice. The coins, for the most part, are oversized, but there are smaller coins, like human-sized coins amongst them as well. Oversized and small coins alike. They seem to be mostly gravitating towards the human-sized coins, and you can see, though the spirit side of this is going to be beyond Hive's capacity, you can see that their eyes are unblinking, and even as they talk, and even in some cases talk to each other, they do not look at each other.
Unblinking, like for up to several seconds.
Yep.
Okay. What about the heart rate? I think I would be able to hear that with 4 pluses to sensor.
That's pretty good, but it is an oversized room. If this were a normal-sized room, I'd let you get away with that, so you'd have to get a little closer.
Is the Daga sitting near the table paying any attention to me?
So,
I think I would
from what you can see, the Daga's at the table is not explicitly paying attention to you, more focused on the more present people of John and Hasad.
Okay. So the Hive would immediately put back its folding fan as not to draw any more attention.
Yeah.
It would begin to like slowly walk sideways towards the people.
Sidling over.
Gathered around. Yeah.
Totally.
Absolutely. Just like sort of like shuffling over.
And as the Hive is doing so, John, you have reached the desk, and if you'd like, you can climb the human stairs built into the side, but what would you like to do as you approach?
So the general idea of it was to walk up to our employer, who I'm guessing is sitting up top.
Yes. And are you going to climb up the stairs at the side of the little desk to get to him?
Definitely.
As you do so, the Dagas would say down to you, "Good day to you, Kleiner. How may I be of service to you? I would have expected to be notified before you entered the premises."
Then with a sort of military-esque salute, I will look up to him. Nice to meet you. The name is John Sinclair. We did not presume to enter the premises without your permission. I did hope that the nice person who asked for our presence would have cleared that up beforehand.
And the man who is sitting, speaking to the master, turns around. You can see that he's not much older than John, and has his hair kind of tied back in like a Pirates of the Caribbean style short ponytail. But he looks and then turns to the master and says, "Apologies, sir. I did mean to inform you, but I did not expect them to arrive quite so quickly." And the master says, "Oh, if you are responsible, Zan, then no harm whatsoever. I appreciate your attendance to this peculiar situation. I think my son is playing tricks on us." Any responses?
All
from
right,
John?
I do hope that is the case. We will try not to bother you at all.
I appreciate it. The main thing I would like to deduce, and perhaps Lutzan has told you this already, is I don't know where he has gotten all this from. He picks up the money, but not like the big coins. He picks up some of the human coins, his large fingers having trouble handling them. He says, "We do not normally deal in this, and I very much hope that he hasn't, well, he certainly hasn't stolen it, but it would be unconventional for my kind to be dealing in your currencies. I'd like to know where he got this from and to make sure it gets back to where it belongs, at fair exchange rate, of course."
All right, then. We will definitely look into that.
You see that Lutzan has, while his master is talking, Lutzan's eyes have not left yours, and you can see that even though he was keeping up a facade, his eyes are wide and scared with his jaw set. He gives the tiniest, as he does this, before turning back to his master and saying, "As you were saying, sir?" Does John have any immediate follow-ups to this? In that case, Hasad, actions from you. You're only a couple steps behind Hasad, and as such would easily hear this entire exchange.
Yeah, okay. I will... I think I'll just keep silent for now, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just standing... I'll stop when I'm just slightly behind and to the left of John, just as if he's the one in charge and I'm the subordinate, so I don't have to talk to people.
Yeah. As you are doing so, the master turns back to Lutzan and goes on speaking to him about more than anything else the day's itinerary, but also some of the things that he's considering. He's like, "Make sure you check with the harbor masters, see whether we can maybe backtrace this currency. And then from there, make sure that you notify the stonemason that I will be somewhat late to our meeting today." And all the time, Lutzan has out his little notepad and is taking down notes and is saying, yes, sir, etc., etc. Follow-ups from John and Hasad from here, now that the conversation has turned away from them.
I will lean across to John and just say quietly that I have had a vision of sorts, not an especially informative one, alas, but it is possible that the person who did this is some sort of dancer or gymnast. Seems like quite a strange thing to happen, but these visions of mine are accurate approximately 100% of the time, half the time.
And follow-ups
They are
from John.
approximately accurate, 100% accurate 50% of the time, or 50%
Exactly,
accurate
yes.
100% of the time. Right.
Both of those, yes.
Not a mathematician, so I'll have to figure that one out later. I'll keep it in mind.
Jumping back over to the Hive. What would it like to do from here as it goes sidling away?
Yeah. Just approach the pile of gold with the ice sculpture in the middle.
Yep.
And see if the people react in any way as I'm approaching.
Yep. As you are sidling your way over, what is your reflex?
+4.
Yeah.
You are so
not
it's going
being
to be... Alright. Being said, I do plan to inspect the sculpture, and at that point the people will probably start noticing, right?
Quite. Well, you don't know. It could be that they do seem very fixated on the gold. The pile, how do I describe this? You know, when you wrap a towel around you after a shower and then you let it drop and it just kind of flomps on the floor? That's kind of the positioning of the gold coins. It was as though they were on his person and they just fell in an equal ring around him.
Okay. Do any of the people gathered around the coin pile seem more important than the others?
They do have different uniforms on. The Hive wouldn't necessarily be able to deduce what their uniforms correlate to, but they do seem to at least be of different positions.
Yeah, right. Which one of them seems to be the richest?
You
putting
can
the
see
coins
that there
aside.
is one that has a beautiful embroidered coat with fine lapels and also a more elaborate cap. At a guess, that one.
Does he have anything interesting on his belt or in his pockets?
Oh, absolutely, more than a few. He has a beautiful little silver bell, which is quite pleasant looking, but might be hard to lift, being a bell.
Yeah.
He has a purse of some kind. That's also of potential interest. He has some sort of itinerary, I guess, like a folded pamphlet of papers. And on top of that, he has maybe a spyglass, I guess, like a telescoping thing.
No keys or anything like that?
None visible, but he does have a chain around, or like a string around his neck that goes down his like the front of his shirt, which could have a key.
Okay. I'm going to sneak up behind him.
Yep.
And then put my sleeve full of threads on his shoulder, just sort of like,
Yep.
wag him on the shoulder and exclaim, "Hello, we are the Hive."
And you can see that he like flinches and like clutches the coins to his chest and kind of starts to turn around. He's a slightly older gentleman, and he blinks kind of in a daze and says, "What? What are you? Oh, excuse me, and wipes sweat from his face.
Do not be alarmed. We are an ice sculpture inspector.
Ice
The Hive
sculpture.
nods.
Ice sculpture. That's very good. Well, we have one of those. He gestures in the vague direction of the ice sculpture.
Yes, we'd like to inspect, if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
of course. I'm fairly busy right now. Excuse me. He wipes his
can
face
see.
of sweat again.
We can see that. And then the Hive just walks towards the ice sculpture. I'm imagining it would probably be noticed by some more people. Or are they still staring at their gold?
There's only one person who's even been like slightly disturbed by that, namely a nearby maid who has kind of like shifted up from the coins. As you're going towards the ice sculpture, however, the man grabs your shoulder and says, "Wait, very important, very important. You see that?" He points to the ground. There's a bunch of coins on the ground, as you might expect. Those things right there. Shiny, round. You see them? Don't
Yes.
touch. Don't touch.
Why is that?
Well, it's mine.
Of course.
Don't touch. All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
The hive nods and then just like stares at him, waits for him to like turn away.
Yep. He lets his hand go and turns away as he does so, picking up another handful of coins.
Okay. Then the Hive walks over to the ice sculpture and makes his best effort to just sort of like, avoid any larger coin piles along the way.
Of course.
Do I imagine it would have to step over a few?
Yeah, you'll have to do a little ratty jump over a couple of these. Not hard with that reflex stat. Of note, the ice sculpture itself is melting, right? It still retains its normal shape, so it's clearly not been here too long because there is a fire in this room, but it's visibly starting to lose definition. It also has like a pretty substantial puddle of water soaking into the floorboards and carpet beneath it. What would you like to do as you approach?
Okay. So what sort of position is the statue frozen in?
So he's sitting at a desk with a pen in his hand. His clothes, his pen, his chair, not ice, just skin. And his head is turned kind of in the direction that you poured it into. It looks like he was looking at a grandfather clock in the corner.
Okay, that's interesting. Does it seem like he was scared when something happened?
His expression is a little melty, and as such, it's not easily read. But
Right.
the eyes are quite small in these things, and he had on glasses. But it looks like he was, if nothing else, surprised. Like, eyebrows up.
Yeah. Is there like an implication that he maybe jumped a little bit?
You don't see a jump, but you do see that he was maybe in like a hunch riding position, but he's bolt upright in his chair.
Okay. I'd like to come closer and put my sleeve on. Well, I would probably have to climb it, right? If I wanted to touch his head or something like
Touch his head for sure. You'd have to climb. There's plenty of clothing, so that would not be hard to do.
probably wouldn't look the best.
Quite.
Just start climbing on the clothes, but the people don't seem to be paying a lot of attention. Can I maybe climb the desk instead?
Yep, the desk is, like I said, it has a staircase on one side specifically made for humans, but you can climb this other side quite easily. It's a beautiful desk, very elaborate, and you have very high reflex, so climbing up something with a lot of little handholds and crevices is going to be child's play for you.
Okay. So after I get to the top of the desk,
Yep.
I want to try to put my hand on the chest of this person. And with 4 pluses to sensory, try to sense if there's any signs of life underneath all that ice.
Sure.
Anything interesting.
Before we complete that, as the Hive is climbing, let's jump back over to John and Hasad. Actions from you two. You do not have eyes on the Hive. The Hive is quite sneaky. But what would you guys like to do here at the top of the desk before the Hive finishes climbing up to your level?
I think, to be honest, I would start climbing down from the desk.
Yep.
Because it doesn't really seem like I'm going to see anything up here. We've
Yep.
made our introduction, so I would just turn around and head back down the staircase to go look at the coins.
Yep, absolutely. And John, what would you do?
I would like to wait for the master and the chief of staff to finish talking, because I'm expecting to still get some information out of the chief of staff.
Yep.
Since we're here now.
The master only talks a short time longer before striding out of the room, and as he does so, the chief of staff stands up from his position seated on the desk, and turns to face you. His face again resumes its worried mask as he strides over, and he says, "Do you have any ideas yet? I'm terribly worried."
I can assure you the team is already working on it, so to speak. I think we should see either of them coming up here any second now. 2 things. So the coins that you dissuaded us from looking too much into seem weird, as far as I can tell.
He says, "Well, you of course may inspect them. He pushes his side of his face, looking frustrated. I don't know why. He shakes, and you see that he's sweating slightly. I keep wanting to look at them and count them and make sure they're still there. We're well paid. We're very well paid. I've not felt this way about money since I was a child."
Well, to reassure you, of the many humans I've met throughout my travels, quite a few of them are as taken to money as your subordinates and colleagues down there seem to be. So
It's not just them. I feel it.
would probably look into the effect of the coins and not directly into them, so to speak.
Yes, I understand. I think I need to check on them as well.
Anything else that you have discerned since contacting our organization?
I've been trying to caution my master, but he has a very busy timetable, and he does not quite understand the implications of his son not being present. This, you know, his son. He points to the man at the desk, the dagas at the desk. His son and he were not particularly close, and he does not know him as well as he might. This is not something he would do, not even close, not imaginably so. His son is a grown man. He's engaged to be married. He's not the kind to play stupid pranks like this. This is entirely... I can only help but suspect the worst. I'm so sorry. He takes out a handkerchief and wipes sweat off his brow, and then looks over the edge of the desk towards the coins.
No need to be sorry. From what we've seen yet, I do think your guess is accurate, as far as I can tell for now. Of this not being a prank, so to speak. But we shall look into it
Yes,
further, so you don't need to worry about it anymore.
you have my full cooperation. He says full cooperation as he hurries past you and starts to rush down the stairs. Now, of note, This is a question I'm going to be asking everyone. What is the currency like where John is from?
So the answer I would want to give you is that there is none. Because being of the kind of sci-fi subset where there is no more currency to speak of,
Star Trek
I
kind of
have
thing.
not. Yeah, I've not figured out yet if it's just like all digital currency or none at all.
That is
Probably
entirely what
being
I anticipated, and I'm glad of that
towards the
answer.
first one. There is definitely precious metals out there, but they're used in all sorts of technology. So
Yep,
it's more
indeed.
of a thing to use rather than a thing to keep.
That's perfectly fine. Actions from John as the head of staff hurries past him to go down the desk.
I will try to get a quick glance around, being a bit on a advantageous position now, having climbed
Quite.
on the desk.
All of the human staff are clustered around the gold. You can see that there are no more dagas in the room. You see the Hive just now climbing up to the top of the desk, so you can reconnoiter with it if you would like. Other than that, you see that the master has closed the door to the room behind him. The door has a human-sized door in it as well. And the only other thing that John would note is he would also, because of his proximity to it and this moment of calm and looking about, see that the frozen ice sculpture was checking the clock when he presumably turned.
So, quick overview of the situation with a few questions. How many doors are there?
You can see one door that seems to lead out, and then there are two smaller doors that are maybe to like closets.
Right. And the clock so the direction he's looking in, is it close to a door or far away from them?
It's in the corner of the room, not particularly close to any door. It's kind of in the direction you guys poured it in.
All right. Then I guess that's enough for now.
Sure.
No. Last question. Are the coins close to the clock or are they a bit away from it?
They are only clustered around the ice sculpture, kind of like I described to Tomáš, like a towel that you let drop around you onto the ground.
So they are close to the desk I'm standing on.
Yep, exactly. They're entirely clustered around the ice sculpture in the desk.
Great. So that's all. That does make sense for me. Yeah.
In that case, I'll check in with Hasad before jumping back to the Hive, who is now close to John. Hasad, going down to the ground level, now this is obviously a trickier question because I don't even know if Hasad is from anywhere. What are the coins like where Hasad is from, or the currency?
What you just said a second ago is correct. Hasad is not specifically from any one place.
Yeah.
He basically, like the closest real world equivalent to his kind of setting would be like the Roma people, Romani.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they just travel around. It's not like they would never use currency. If they were passing through somewhere that had currency, they would, do stuff to earn currency and then use the currency to buy things. But in other places, they would just trade their services directly for, food and lodgings and things.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, the closest thing he would maybe have to currency would be like random knickknacks that he keeps in his wanderer's satchel.
Sure.
Because those are the things that his people value when they meet up with one another and, show off their
swag.
yeah, basically their souvenirs and talk about the
Totally.
places they've been and such.
Yeah, that's the answer I anticipated, and I'm glad of it. What would you like to do now on ground level?
I am going to look for a coin that is not currently in the process of being picked up by anyone.
Yep, easily done. They're scattered everywhere and have, clustered around the desk, but still there's enough of a ring of them that the people around haven't dominated the whole space.
Okay, so yeah, I'm going to just kneel down in front of this coin and not touch it yet. I want to look at it, stare at it, and examine any sort of feelings that it inspires in me.
Yeah. Are you examining a human-sized coin or a Dagas-sized coin?
Yeah, just one of the human ones. Yeah.
Yep. It's an interesting thing. It's pretty. It's beautifully. It looks brand new. A brand new gold coin. And you do notice as you're kind of examining it, since Hasad is not from any one place and does not necessarily work for money particularly often, he'd be able to see a little more objectively the sensation in him to pick it up. You know, he'd be able to, you know, like a cool rock on the ground. It's like, oh, I do want to touch that. That looks interesting and nice.
Okay. And once I have got that vibe in my head, I will go with the flow, but I'm still like focused on what I'm feeling. I'm trying to
Yep.
keep a track on how I'm affected by this.
Will stat?
1.
Sensor,
Just a single
spirit stat?
plus. Spirit is none baseline for that.
Cool. In that case, as you pick it up, you immediately notice it is freezing cold to the touch. It feels like touching ice.
Glance around and look at the others that are picking up coins. Do they seem to notice this?
No. Though now that you're looking at this, you can see that their fingers are literally white from clutching something cold. Although
Okay.
their faces are often sweating.
Yeah. I would like to... I would like to try using By the Wayside on this coin. Obviously, I have literally just picked it up, and it is newly found to me at least. But it may not exactly fit the criteria of being forgotten to the world, but I would argue that since no one was particularly looking at this specific coin when
Yep.
I went across to it, that's, you know,
I'm
good
actually
enough.
A-okay with this definition. I think that's great.
Nice. Okay. So I would like the coin. Can I ask if you would mind checking with someone else while I try and actually think of something I want
Completely
this to do?
fine. No problem.
Sure. Yeah.
Let's jump over to the Hive and John, beginning with the Hive hopping onto the lap of the ice dagas to check its chest. John, do you have any follow-ups when you see the Hive doing so, or do you just want to wait and see what happens?
I wanna definitely wait and see what happens.
Sure. As the Hive lands on like the plush pants of this like oversized humanoid, or is this like us pushing your head up against its chest to listen in, that sort of thing?
Yeah, probably.
Yep.
Just literally like lean up against the chest, like as if it was like a wall or something.
Yeah, absolutely. And you hear no heartbeat, but you do hear a faint kind of tinkling noise, almost like the sound of incredibly faint chimes.
Okay. Could I reach the ice, or are they still too far away?
If you did some climbing, you could get to the eyes.
Sure, and I'll be using my stiletto as an ice pick to hold
Oh,
myself.
sick. Yep.
I don't think anyone is going to be looking anyway, so...
No one is.
Okay. After I get to the head, I again want to use the stiletto to try to get the eye out from the ice sculpture.
Pink, 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 as you're hacking away at this thing.
Yes.
It's, like I said, this is a big guy, but it's not so big that you take a million years to hack this thing out. I'm guessing you're not going for perfection here?
No.
Yeah.
Despite what I have said, the Hive is actually not a qualified ice sculpture inspector. So
Shocking.
Who could have ever predicted?
Yeah.
I'm going to do my best.
You pull out like a fist-sized eyeball after a little bit of chipping away. It's a terrible pick job, but you know, you got it out.
Okay. And then I want to sort of like wrap my body around the face of this person, since, you know, the Hive being a bunch of rats isn't really confined with the like logic of normal human body.
Yeah.
And I want to poke my face of like a single specific rat, just like inside of the hole that I just dug into the face of the dagger, and I want to use viewpoint looking inside.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay, let me think about this. Yep, okay, I'm all right with that. Things of note. Inside, it's ice. There's no difference between the ice of the inside, the ice of the outside. But viewpoint does activate. And when it does, as you close the big rat's eyes, the head rat's eyes, you would see that, I mean, you're only looking out of one eye at this point, but its vision is 100% fixed on the clock.
Okay. Okay, so let me see the stuff that viewpoint does. Okay, so maybe some other senses. Did he also hear something as he looked at the clock?
Right now, the hearing of the ice sculpture is not being picked up by viewpoint. The vision is. Of note, the clock it's looking at is a Dagaz-sized grandfather clock. It's as tall as maybe this guy was when he was standing. Has, you know, the big, like, glass-paneled face with the big swinging pendulum visible and beautiful embellishments and carvings all the way up the sides, and then the big glass clock face and ticking away. I don't know if the Hive would care about this particularly, but they don't have 12-hour or 24-hour days here. So the clock face would look different from normal, but it's still very recognizably a clock.
That's bad, because I was just going to ask, like, what was the time when he froze?
Yeah. As best he can determine, it's 9 moon. That's what it looks like it's saying.
Okay. That doesn't seem to have any specific culture importance, right? Like, it's not at the top of the clock or anything like that.
It does not seem to be at the top of the clock, no. Okay. It seems to be afternoonish.
Afternoonish, okay. Okay. Is he looking specifically at the clock itself or something underneath it?
Exactly at the clock face.
Okay.
The clock face is pardon me. The clock face has kind of an opalescent sheen to it, like as though it were made of mother of pearl, or as though the glass were tinted.
And so, looking from the viewpoint, do I see anything strange about the clock, or does it seem entirely normal?
How long are you gonna watch it for?
A bit, because I'm at least a minute to see if it moves, but I have no idea what sort of time measure they are using here.
Oh my god, so. The rats ran up the clock. That is so accurate. Malformist in chat. Okay, as the Hive is watching, John, having witnessed the Hive doing some ice picking work, actions from you.
Right now, I'm thinking of a way to salvage the mission and getting it back on track to evacuation, because while the mystery is quite intriguing, I do not think we have yet made any progress on our actual mission yet, so to speak.
Do you know
we can start a fire whenever, so...
That's probably a good question. Is there any sort of... So the fire is probably a wood fire? Or a coal fire, sort of that?
It is a wood fire, and it is using human-sized logs for the most part.
Which is to be expected. I don't think the Daga would hack up their own wood, so
Quite.
to speak. This being sort of medieval, late medieval, early Renaissance, I would guess. Although I'm not sure if you're gonna give John that idea, that everything is probably really flammable. So it's wooden walls and curtains out of fabric and stuff like that.
Yes, everything is very flammable, minus the fireplace itself. It is, of course, made of stone and has a nice big stone panel out in front in case of, like, falling coals. Or embers, rather.
Yeah. Right. Having no idea of that sort of thing, I would like to inspect the happenings around the coins from up above.
Yep.
A question that did occur to me is how many... So if I'm standing up there, how can I do it rough estimate of how many there are?
Sure.
So is it like a thick ring around the sculpture, or is it more scattered about?
Reasonably thick considering his size. There would be Daga coins numbering in the scores, so like 80-ish at a very rough eyeballing,
Yeah.
and human coins hundreds, like 200-300 of them at least.
All right. So I would like to keep somewhat of an eye on Hasad as well as I'm at it, but I don't think I'm as observant enough to get anything that's happening down there. Not sure how far up I am right now.
You're not terrifically far up. You're maybe like a story and a half off the ground. And so it's a good observation point, if nothing else. You would see that Hasad has a coin in his hand.
I do think I will deal with that later, so to speak.
Hmm.
I will wait for the Hive to reconvene with me at some point.
In that case, Hasad, speaking of which, what do you have for me?
Yeah, so obviously by the wayside 3 uses normally, so I would like this thing to trigger a use whenever the coin is flipped, and when it does so, I would like it to produce a streamer like the one I saw in my vision, which flies around the room, being all colourful and attracting attention, and then at a random point in the room in which no one is standing, it circles around and some snowflakes fall down, which glitter like the ones in my dream, and whatever object they touch turns to ice.
Oof, goodness gracious, there's a lot of moving parts to that. I think that flip to produce a streamer that produces snow is good, like glittering snow.
Okay.
I'm going to say not turn to ice, but I will say disproportionately cold.
Cool, okay. That works then. So yeah, after I have got this little effect on the coin, I'm not going to use it straight away. Instead, I'll just slip it into my satchel for safekeeping for now.
Absolutely. From here, what would Hasad like to do?
I guess I will look around at everyone who is still focused on the coins, and from this position, can I see the Hive crawling around the statue's face?
You can, though only barely. The curvature of
Okay.
the desk is cutting off part of this scene. I should note, though, that as you look around at everyone, now that you and John are synced up in time, both of you would notice that at least 2 of the people who have coins have bundled up as many of them as they can carry in their clothes and are like starting to move off to like far-flung corners of the room. One of them is going over in the kind of the general direction of the clock, and another one is going over towards the curtains.
Okay. So yeah, I'll just lean against the desk for now and watch to see what they're doing.
Yep. John, do you want to do same, or do you have any actions you'd like to take preempting that?
So if I were to jump down, that would probably hurt if it's 1.5 stories.
Resilience and reflex?
Out. 2 to resilience and 1 to reflex.
Oh, you could actually probably make that. It wouldn't be comfy because you're wearing armor and stuff, but you could make it.
Yeah, sure. Let's do that. So I take the kind of gentle step off the edge, so to
Yep.
speak, as not to increase the height anymore, and try to brace myself for impact.
Yep. Slamming into the ground. But completely ready for the fall. You can absolutely do that without more than like a shudder through the body. After landing, you should know that your thump into the ground has caused one of the nearby gold-focused humans to start and drop the handful of coins that she was carrying. Follow-ups from John. Oh, yeah, Hasad?
Can I just interject to say that when this happens, I immediately like turn my head round to look at that woman, I just want to see how she reacts to having dropped the gold.
You can see that her immediate reaction is there's a sudden flash of wild anger on her face and then panic as she starts to try to pick all of it up. And John, after landing, you can see the woman scrabbling around on the ground trying to collect all of her gold. What do you want to do?
I've been thinking if I should save this for later or not, but I would like to sort of enhance the thump I just used on the ground with it says clattering of armor, so sort of thumping against the plate carrier I'm wearing, and would try to lead into a gear things to get those people's attention and maybe get them away from the coins, so to speak.
Yeah. So as you slam to initiate the Garathings, I love that, by the way. Anything that you would be doing after the initiation, how would you be sustaining the Garathings? Would you be saying stuff, etc.?
Yes, I will definitely shout attention, attention. Try to make a full circle around the statue.
Mm-hmm.
And do hope that I can follow this up with some sort of evacuation call later. But for now, it's just thumping against the breastplate, walking purposefully as to make expressive kinds of stomping sounds, and shouting for attention.
And you can see that this is grabbing people's attention. Even the ones that were scurrying over to the corners of the room have turned around. And while they do not drop their gold, their eyes on you are on you, and most of them are approaching you, at least to some degree. You can see that all of their eyes are kind of glazed and crazed. They are pouring sweat. Their hands are white and frigid, and their faces are flushed and pale.
So going off of that, we are going to do some creative thinking about the way abilities are worded. Right now, I'm doing gear things on them, which means they would be considered my enemies. If I wanted to use two arms, especially with my perk, would that work on them, or rather not?
Remind us of your perk.
So the perk I have is that I can summon like work gear instead of weapons and armor, and right now the idea would be to give them like burlap sacks, so to speak, for them to collect the coins faster, so I can move them out.
Yeah. In that case, the way that you would pivot the ally-enemy status is via your paired action. So allow the two-armed speech to be what kind of justifies the shift from enemy to ally.
All right then, my friends. I do think we've looked at those nice little coins quite enough. Why don't we pick up the pace, so to speak? I would like to grant you sacks from my personal storage, so to speak, for you to pick those up, and if we can, move it out so you can count it under the fresh air of the sun.
And you hear some murmurings. A few people say, thank you, yes. And as they start to hurry over towards you, all of them now, in earnest, hurrying over towards you. How many sacks do you want to make? Is this like a one per person thing, or are you trying to get more than that?
So I would like to give out to maybe half of them. I know that giving too few would probably lead to this becoming some sort of riot. I'm not sure if I can produce enough for everyone, although that would be the target.
You absolutely can. No doubt about that. Like I said, there's not like an enormous number of people in here. At the moment, it's like 7, 8. And that's 100% doable for something as simple as burlap sacks, thanks to your perk. As you are conjuring these and beginning to dole them out, Hasad, any actions from you? The Gera things, while it would not draw you, of course, it's like pretty freaking obvious. So you can see and hear this entire sequence. Do you have follow-ups or other things you'd like to do?
Let me see. I think I'll just go over to stand next to him, not do anything more than that.
Absolutely.
Is the chief of staff still around?
Yes,
Probably
he is.
Still picking up coins, right? I would sort of lean over to Hasad, and I have not yet heard where we are supposed to evacuate those fine people to, so to speak. I don't think I can break too much of a character right now, so if you could go find that out, that would be pretty nice.
I believe the mission we were given was merely to get them out of the house. What happens to them after that isn't strictly our concern, I don't believe.
All right, unless I make it, which I probably won't this time. Good to hear that. So let's. Yeah, then that works for me. Here you go. Take one. As I hand to the next person, and probably if Hasad is still standing around, probably hand one to him too.
Would Hasad like a burlap
Okay.
sack?
Sure, why not?
Nice. As soon as people are given sacks, they immediately start scraping armfuls of coins into them. They also, especially where there are aren't enough human-sized coins, and there are just, small scuffles breaking out over this, but they're not nearly as many as you might expect. There are no shouting matches. There's no thrown hands. They're just no, it's mine, that sort of thing. They start to just fill the extra space in the sacks with the big, oversized Dagaz coins. Before we go further, Hive. Let's check it back in with you. What would you like to do from here?
So I was staring through the eye for a little bit to
Yep.
see if anything strange happens with the clock.
Yep, and there's two things that you would notice. First of all, the kind of opalescent glass on front of the clock catches the sun through the curtains. Initially, it's kind of like your eyes are playing tricks on you, and it's like the sun is making it move, right? But after looking long enough, it looks like the opalescent pattern of the glass is moving, like the shiny slick of gasoline you see on a puddle top.
Okay. I'm not going to look at it for much longer, just to be sure.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
don't want to freeze you. So, instead, the Hive is going to inspect the fireplace, still being, on the shoulders of this statue.
Yep,
And look for the nearest curtain.
absolutely. So you said you didn't want to look at it for too long. How long do you want to look at it for once it starts noticeably moving, or once you notice it moving, rather?
Well, I mean, it's a rat. Rats are easy enough to fascinate with moving objects, so I think it would take a bit of time. Let's say 15 seconds.
Sure. After 10, you would see that what looks like a little thread starts to wind off of the glass in your general direction, like a little colorful thread of light.
Okay. Immediately pull my head, or rather my bread, I suppose, out of the eye socket and
Yep.
look if the thread is still there.
And whipping over to see all the rats crowding over to one side of the robe.
Yeah.
And looking over, you can see that the little thread of light is still there, but quickly retracts into the clock.
Okay, that's interesting. So yeah, the Hive is going to hurry up with its plan to burn this place down. Looking to the fireplace, what are the nearest flammable objects? I know that everything is sort of flammable, right? But I absolutely need to. I need the fire to be completely large enough so that it cannot be extinguished by,
Of course,
10 people.
So, you have a bunch of good options, but unfortunately all of them are oversized and not super close, because it's an oversized room. You have the rug. Rugs are nice and flammable. You have curtains. Curtains are very flammable. You have paper. There's tons of paper here. Paper's mega flammable. But again, the curtains and the rug are huge. They're Daga's size. There is some human-sized books and paper, but again, the stone plate in front of the fireplace that's meant to stop fires like this is also oversized, meaning that you'd need a pretty substantial number of books to get across it.
Okay, that's fine. For now, I'm still holding my stiletto, and I want to make a little angry face on top of the sculpture, activating veneer, to make it seem like the eye sculpture is, make it have some sort of an angry demonic face.
Yeah.
Snarling with evil intention.
Also made of ice?
Yeah,
Nice.
totally.
And after...
and as the Hive is doing that, I would like to also activate my hand mirror which is actually skinned as a smartphone because despite the fact that the Hive is wizardish, it's actually from a modern setting.
Yes.
And it's going to call Hasad. But instead of this being like a large hologram, I want this to be like a small red face, like literally appearing next to his ear, so
Sure.
that no one else really.
And in this case, Hasad, you've just been given a burlap sack when a teeny little disembodied rat head appears next to you and starts to talk into your ear.
Hello, Hasad. We are going to start a fire soon. Be prepared to evacuate people. And then immediately the hologram goes out without giving time for Hasad to react.
Poof.
Okay. I just get handed a sack, and then I'm just standing there like, about to say something or something, and then this thing appears.
The rat appears, and then you can about to say something to that, and then it vanishes as well.
Okay. Yep. Just kind of flabbergasted here a bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Do I still have an action here, or
Yes, you can keep going.
Okay. So after I'm done with making my shitty impression of a frowning face, which somehow turns into an ice sculpture masterpiece, I want to leap towards the wall that has curtains on it, and scale the wall.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be noticed, right? Probably.
No.
Doing this. Okay. So scale the wall and get on top of the curtains.
Yep, with quad reflex, jumping from ice sculpture to curtains and then climbing the curtains is incredibly easy as well. And you can not fly, but zoom up the curtains at great speed before getting to the curtain bar at top. This gives you a pretty much panoramic view of the room and would be like quite high in the air, like 4.5, maybe even 5 stories up.
If I were to drop the curtains down, do I think someone would notice?
Hard to tell. Especially because you can't really see many people here because the desk and like the ice sculpture get in the way from your current view of the people, even though you have a great view of the room. I should also note, now that you're up here, you see other things too. You can see, for example, that there's a beautiful chandelier. It's like not huge, but it's an oversized small chandelier that's in the center of the room. And you can also see that the fireplace has a set of like glass panels that like are meant to close in front of it at certain points, but right now they're open. So there's a bunch of like different details about the room that you're picking out now from this new angle. You even pick out that there is along the high trim of the room, there's actually a walkway that is meant to be human sized to get like an upper elevation movement path.
Nice. Okay.
They probably aren't changing those curtains out without something like that. So.
Yeah. Would I be able to throw a smoke bomb into the fireplace without it being noticed before it makes an impact?
Again, tough to say. Answer is probably yes, because it is a normal sized smoke bomb in an oversized room.
Yeah. Particularly, they are skinned as spray paint. So
I see, yes.
Okay. Okay. I'll start working on the curtains with my stiletto, but I won't make them drop just yet. I will leave just a little bit of fabric for them to still hang.
Sure. While the Hive is working on this, John, jumping back down to you. Having handed out the sacks, people are quickly shoveling up gold. Again, there are small arguments and things like that, but the only person who is not currently shoveling gold into his sack, besides maybe Hasad, we'll get to that in a moment, would be the head of staff, Lutzen. You can see that he's put a little bit in, but is currently leaning against the table leg, like wiping sweat off of his face and heaving, his shoulders going up and down.
So, does he look? So I think you want. I don't need to ask the question if he looks winded because that's the description you're giving me right now. So, I would like to walk over to him. Is everything all right, my friend?
He says, "No, but I do not know why. I feel feverish."
Feverish, my friend, as in sick feverish, or just...
Yes. He wipes more
I
sweat
would
off
like-
his face.
I would like to gently put the palm on his forehead to ascertain if he's hot to the touch.
It's the weirdest sensation. His cheeks are flushed and warm. His head is icy cold like his hands. So is his neck.
Yep. I can see it. Did that start when you started picking up the coins?
It got much worse. When I was talking to my master, I felt like I was starting to fall ill, but it's overwhelming. I feel like I need to sit down or something.
I don't think that's quite a good time yet. So if you're feeling feverish and kind of sickly, I do think fresh air would do you some good.
Yes.
We will try to finish up here.
Yes, of course
all
it
the
would.
same.
Of course it would. Let me just... He gets back to shoveling coins into his sack. You can see that a couple of people are already done with their sacks and are now trying to load up their pockets as well.
Yeah, I will keep an eye on the situation. So if anybody is about to collapse, I would try to help them up.
Well, you see that the closest to that would be one enterprising female member of staff who has put so many coins on her person, she looks like she's having trouble walking.
All right, but there's still plenty of coins around.
Oh, yeah.
So there's no...
There's no conceivable way these people will be able to carry all of these coins.
Wait. The human-sized coins, there's only like 300 of them, you said.
They're taking some of the big
How
ones,
big are
too.
these sacks? Yeah, okay, yeah. But how big are these sacks? Are they like that size or like proper burlap sack
Oh, these are
size?
proper burlap sacks, but remember, they're filling up space with Daga's coins, which are substantially bigger.
Yeah.
Plus, also
Hasad
medieval
much
coins would be
bigger.
a lot heavier than
Yeah,
what we
medieval
have
coins
today.
are pretty
So
heavy, too. They're thick, you know. So pardon me. John, do you have a follow-up before I check in with Hasad?
Yeah, I would want to. So, Hasad, my friend, how good are you on magics? Like, general knowledge about this?
General knowledge about magic. I wouldn't say it's something that I'm specialized in.
Right, but you would agree that these are probably not normal coins?
Oh, definitely. They have some sort of mind control effect that enforces a psychic impulse to collect them. And also they chill whomever touches them.
would the Hive hear this conversation?
That's a great question. I'd say yes.
4 plus is 2 sensory.
Yep.
Yeah.
4 plus 2 sensory, and the room is big, but it's also a little echoey. So yeah.
Okay. My Hive's ego absolutely wants me to just call John and say like we are knowledgeable of magics, but for now we are probably going to hold off on that.
Yeah. Any follow-ups from John after Hasad says this?
But there's nothing we can do for now to break this sort of thing, right? I'm guessing that would be our other friend's specialty.
I strongly suspect I could break one person or two out of the control, but certainly not a whole group, no.
Also, the Gare things did work, kind of. So we would need to coordinate with them, but I think we can get them out of here. The bigger problem is going to be the masters, who are our core objective.
Indeed. It definitely would have been helpful if we had one or more of them in this room to gather coins as well, given that it seems these regular people are not going to be able to carry all of these.
Of note, speaking of which,
clearly-
no one, even when they have so many that they're full to bursting, none of them stop trying to collect. They keep trying to shove coins anywhere they can fit them.
I do think this would be the point to start cutting our losses, so to speak. So I think the Hive is preparing something up there.
At this point, after John says that, the Hive is going to call John.
Disembodied rat appears next to John as he is saying this.
The Hive would be like whispering into the phone, just like holding it directly in front of its non-existent face. And it's going to say, we are about to start a fire. Evacuate the people. When the fireplace explodes, get them to look at the statue.
At the
The
statue.
sculpture.
Right. do we have a plan yet on how to get the others out besides having the fire?
We improvise.
As always, we shall see. Great.
Yeah, I'm guessing the call ends at that point.
Yeah, exactly. We improvise and
Bloop.
Question: Did I hear any of that?
Oh, you
I
heard
all
don't
of it.
have any pluses.
This is right next.
Nice. Okay. In that
So,
case, I will
I'm-
just smile slightly and nod and say, "Seems like everything is going to plan."
And John.
Yeah. I would tell him what the Hive just told me if he didn't hear it himself.
Oh, it's obvious that he heard it. So what would you like to say after that?
Right. So, well, yeah. So, would you like to say go ahead and find out where the masters are, to hasten our evacuating them?
Very well. I suppose I could do that. Good luck with this room.
Sure.
So yeah, after seeing that, I guess I'll just roll off towards the little mini door, following the master out of the room.
Absolutely. As Hasad opens the door, he finds himself on like a central stairwell. The stairs are all, as you might imagine, Daga sized, but have human-sized ones carved into the sides of them. You guys, just from like looking around, it seems that you're maybe on the second or third floor. The staircase leading up has a noticeably lower ceiling at the top. There's one other door at this level, and then there's the staircase that leads down. Where would Hasad like to head to from here?
So there's a staircase leading down, and there's one other door on this level.
Yep.
Is that right? Yeah. I'll just head across to the other door for now.
Sure. Clicking it open, you find yourself inside of a beautiful bedchamber. It is completely empty, but for a maid who has climbed onto the Daga-sized bed and is undergoing a pretty substantial operation to change the oversized sheets single-handedly.
I will just call out to her and say, "Excuse me, ma'am."
Hello? She says, I don't recognize that voice. One moment. She goes over to the edge of the bed and takes like a set of rigging down the side of the bed and then strolls across the floor towards you. She says, I don't recognize you. I'm terribly sorry. The young master needs to have his bed prepared for the evening, and I need to get a start on it now before I can get around to cleaning up his clothing. How can I help you?
I'm afraid that that's not going to be possible.
Why?
We need you to evacuate this building.
Why?
I'm afraid that something terrible has happened. Have you heard about the ice sculpture yet?
No? What is that? That's ridiculous. Why would that be a danger?
Best not. There is a fire. It seems that whomever placed the sculpture was not merely making a prank. Or if they were, then they have a sick sense of humor as they are accelerating what's a good way of putting this?
I should note that she actually interrupts Hasad and like seizes him by the lapels and she says, There's a fire? But my things! Do we need to get out immediately?
I'm afraid so. My colleagues are assisting with the
Starting the
evacuation.
fire.
Yeah, are assisting with the evacuation.
She says,
Your
Does the master know?
co-workers will be-
Perhaps he can put out the fire.
We are just going to inform the master. In fact, I am searching for him at the moment.
I'll help. I'll help.
But it is best that you do evacuate. In the event that he's not able to put out the fire, the Dagas are quite easy to see, so I'm sure we can keep track of where they all are. But humans like ourselves could easily be missed, and we would not want anyone caught in the flames.
She is tugging you by the lapels over towards the door and says, I understand. Let's just get out of here. I don't want to burn alive, please.
Yes, of course. Please show me the way.
While this conversation was happening, I would like to start doing my plan.
Of course, before I hear about your plan, I do want to briefly catch up with John, and then I want to have the Hive take it from there. In this case, John, after Hasad has left the room, do you have follow-ups? The coin collectors are still collecting coins with no sign of stopping.
Yeah, which is to be expected. So I'm told that the Hive will start the fire soon, and I should get the attention on the statue as it happens.
Okay.
Real
so
quick,
can
I think that had a follow-up to it. What would?
No, I'm still thinking of how to do that.
Oh, pardon.
So
just thinking. That's totally fine. In that case, Hive, let's hear it. Fire away.
Okay.
Literally.
Exactly. So, first step, make the fireplace explode. I'm throwing a smoke bomb into the fireplace, and obviously I want it to be skinned as like literal, ash, like a smoke full of ash and whatever, soot and such. Just like smoke, excessive amount of smoke suddenly coming out of the fireplace into the room. Okay, so throw the smoke bomb, and as soon as I do that, start cutting the curtains super hastily so that they finally fall down.
Yep. You hear your smoke bomb go off. So this is a spray paint can, but does it normally produce smoke, or does it normally produce like paint fumes?
Paint fumes.
Yeah, I can see why the explosion is going to happen. In that case, the can hits the thing and then goes off, and then the paint fumes ignite. There's like quite a substantial fireball, though by itself that does not seem to be enough to catch anything. It just like intensifies the fire wildly because again it's oversized, so there's enough space between it and the flammables for the big floof to not catch anything. But the curtains drop. Do you have a follow-up? What do you want to do?
And now I want to do a manifestation of controlling the curtains so that they slither into the fireplace.
Oh, big curtain. Howard, walk me through this manifestation, because this is going to be a substantial amount of weight.
So the Hive actually has 2 pluses to Arcane, right? And the way it moves around quite often when it's not being watched is that it just like is a trench coat that's like slithering on the ground, right?
Yeah.
This wouldn't be much different from it. It would just be like a bunch of fabric slithering around along the ground. So that would be sort of what the Hive is thinking of. And as it's standing over there, maybe it can be like moving on the walkway. It's going to be just like puppeting it from above.
Okay.
And it's knowledgeable of this because it's, used to puppeting fantasies.
Yeah. The curtain itself, the Hive would try. It is too heavy. It would weigh hundreds of pounds. But these sort of old-timey curtains have curtain ties, like those velvet tassels that you can use to tie the curtain open or let them loose to come shut. And those curtain tassels are quite long and are dramatically lighter. And as such, are you okay adapting this to just puppet the curtain tassel rather than the entire curtain?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because just too much weight. If I can let you do that, I can let you do this on a car. Now.
Well, yeah, I suppose.
Yeah. And so in this case, the curtain tassel would start to like snake across the floor as you're walking along the walkway above, because it sounds like you're kind of like walking in line with how you want it to move. Is that roughly correct?
Yeah, sure. Sort of like moving it around so that it kind of like slithers around as if it was like snake-like.
Yeah, exactly. And as you slither it across the ground, you would notice something. When that great fireball went up from the fireplace, and now the fire is more intensified, the clock moved a little bit. Not the whole clock, but there was movement around the clock. And you can see that the slick, that weird shifting color that you saw on the glass is gone. It's just glass.
Okay. At this point, I would like to check back with John because I need to know if I can go through with the third step, which is activating the veneer.
Sure. And John, jumping over to you, you would hear the great floof of the fireball from the fireplace. The fire has not completely started yet. You hear a few gasps from the people collecting coins, but many of them haven't even noticed that happening.
So I would like to go off the almost commotion with a big "oh no!" and using 2 pluses to vitality to get everybody's attention and direct it towards the big demonic face that was created up above. Although I'm not sure where it is, how visible it is from down here.
In this case, since you're standing, like, they're still in many cases clustered around the table area, but since you're a little ways back from the desk, and I'm presuming you're pointing when you say this, yeah?
Yes, with both hands, as to be precise.
Yep. And you can see that the few who are closest to you, specifically the head of staff and the one extremely enterprising woman who is so loaded with coins she can barely walk, they are close enough to actually turn and look. And you can see that the head of staff gives another gasp and says, "Young master, what has become of you?" And the woman says, "You can't have them. They're mine, young master."
Oh, well, that's concerning, but regardless. At this point, how many people are looking at this sculpture?
From John's initial motion, still at least 6 people are just dedicated to gathering coins.
Okay, the ones that are looking, does it seem like they will just go back to picking up coins again?
The head of staff actually looks very perturbed. The other one looks more defensive than anything else.
Okay, so I will wait still, so that more people, look at the sculpture.
Sure, John, how do you want to try to muster this?
At this point, probably enough smoke is around,
Yes.
although it's going up because as hot things do go up. I will just turn towards fire, as I run back the circle back around the statue to get everybody's attention this time.
And yelling fire at the top of your lungs, that starts to crack them out of it. People at least, like, midway through stooping to pick up coins will look up and they see the smoke pouring out of the fireplace. They see the great plume of flame, though it's again somewhat subsided, but it's still roaring more fiercely. And a few of them, like, get to their feet and start to kind of stumble away, weighted down by their coins. A few of them, as they are whispering, like, oh dear, fire, keep picking up coins, even as they, like, say how concerned they are about it. Quick follow-up from Hive, then quick follow-up from John.
So at this point, would some of the people be looking at the sculpture again as John is walking towards it?
In this case, since John has done like a little runaround yelling fire and trying to get people away from like under the desk where most of the coins are and like adjacent to it, there are some people who are moving out towards the door now, and as they do, most of them are looking at the fireplace, not yet having their attention redirected towards the statue. Do you want to take more time and wait for more to be looking directly at it?
I'm going to throw a smoke bomb into the pile of coins. And I'm going to make this smoke bomb be sort of like orange / yellowish in color.
Yep.
So that it sort of resembles embers.
And John, you would obviously be quite nearby when the smoke bomb goes off, though you can see through it. You can see that the 3 or so people who are still picking up immediately jump to their feet and start to weightedly sprint out from underneath the desk. Follow-ups from you as they are being ushered. Oh yeah, quick thing from Hive then from John.
At this point, as the people would probably be panicked and look away immediately after the initial explosion, I want to end my veneer, activating my perk. And I have a perk for veneer that says when ended, it can create a non-damaging explosion of paint. So in this instance, I want the face to explode into something that sort of resembles fire.
Oh dear!
It's going to be exactly fire-like.
John, follow-ups from you just before this explosion happens after the smoke bomb goes off.
All right then, guys. I think that's about all you can get today. Let's pick up our feet and get out of here. The second explosion serves as, I'm guessing, the period to the sentence.
Precisely.
Or the exclamation.
And you can see that, like, great, like, how to describe this? Like, great, what look like globs of molten fire go spewing out around the room. And a few people shriek. One even drops a handful of coins and doesn't stop to pick them up as they start to, very weighted down, shuffle their way over towards the door as fast as they possibly can. The head of staff, the least weighted down among them, is the first to the door by far and fumbles for a moment before opening it up and trying to usher people out. Actions from John as this is happening.
Yes, I would now... So I will consider this somewhat successful enough of an evacuation of those people, I would try to go back to where Hasad went to.
Yep.
Because still the top priority are the masters and not the little folk, so
Yep.
to speak.
In that case,
Wait, where are they going then?
they're all going out the same door that you would be going
Yeah,
out as
yeah.
well. So they're all going out the main door of the room. Would you be bringing up the rear or at the head, John?
At the rear.
Yep.
If it's the same door.
As people are shuffling their way through the door, speaking of which, let's jump back over to Hasad. Reason being is that the maid that you encountered is still kind of like clinging to you, is pulling you down the stairs as fast as she can. You go down one flight of stairs. I get to another landing. There are 3 more doors here. You hear heavy thumping behind one of them, as well as a booming voice muffled by the door saying, "This is really getting ridiculous now." Actions that you would like to take as she is kind of pausing, torn between running down the next flight of stairs and going towards the door.
Was that the voice of the master from before?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, okay. In that case, I'll just like gently pull back against her and start heading towards that door. And I'll say to her, you can head out and evacuate now if you would like. I have to ensure that your master is warned of this threat.
She says, "No, I'll come too. I want to help. At least while there's no fire here yet."
Of course. Thank you. And so, yeah, I would go across there and... is this one also got like a human-sized door?
It does.
Yeah. So I'll just try and open it without knocking or anything, because
Yep.
obviously we're supposed to be in a rush here.
Yeah.
And... Sorry, go ahead.
No, oh, pardon. You enter into another large bed chamber, this one bigger than the last, though darker with curtains drawn.
Okay. In that case, I will speak loudly and clearly. I have a 1 point in vitality, so that's something. And I would just say, Master of the house, I apologize for the interruption, but we must evacuate everyone. There has been a concerning development.
As you are saying this, the master says, "Who is that over there? One moment, I need to come and get a good look at you. It's too bloody dark in this room." As he's coming over, you hear him saying, "Just getting ridiculous." He bends over and says, "Oh, Ava, it's good to see you, dear. And who are you? Were from upstairs, I remember now. Can you please fetch Lutzan for me? This is truly getting outrageous. Look at what he's done now." And he gestures back towards the bed. You can't see what he's looking at. You don't have an angle for it, but...
Okay. I will just say, Master, you don't understand. It is not your son that is pulling these pranks. This person is out to get you. We have discovered they have set a fire upstairs.
Fire!
We are hastily... A fire, yes. It is not just the ice. Someone is attempting to... I think they may be trying to kill you.
Oh, goodness. Well...
The ice is a distraction. They are trying to burn down this house while your family is inside. Quickly, we must evacuate.
Oh, of course. Ava, dear, come, quickly. She hurries over and he picks her up and puts her on his shoulder. He says, You, young Kleiner, do you know where my wife and my son are? Because there's another of these damn sculptures in my bed pretending to be her, and then my son's was upstairs. Where have they gone?
Have you any other family aside from your wife and son?
Not in the building at the moment.
Okay. I do not know where your wife and son are. However, I would imagine they are not here any longer. These statues are intended to keep you here looking for them. You are in danger, sir. Please, we will search the house, but we have to get as many people evacuated as we can before it is too late.
Well, You're quite sure that they are not here still? He looks over his shoulder back towards the bed. I just left her here. She was at her nap. I just left her.
How do I do that?
So
No, I
Do you need a moment?
I don't know about the clock in character,
No,
so
you do not.
I can't tell him.
I do have a
Yeah.
suggestion, but I'm not sure if that's my place.
I would ask that we keep it with Reece, but I appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just gonna say to him, it is possible she heard the commotion from upstairs and has already fled. These sculptures are clearly the work of this saboteur, and we cannot afford to get hung up thinking too much about them. Imagine how she would feel if she left the house only for you to become trapped and injured, or perhaps even slain whilst looking for her.
What is your luck stat?
2.
2? Okay. As you are saying this, his huge oversized nostrils suddenly flare, and his small eyes widen, his eyebrows go up, and he says, "Smoke. Oh dear." He hurries, he like takes one big step over you and throws the big door open, still with the maid on his shoulder. He moves her off his shoulder, literally into like a football carry almost, or like a rugby carry. And he says, "All right, I will be out. Please make sure they are safe, please." And he goes barreling down the stairs.
Ooh. I would like to follow after him, obviously at a more sedate pace, just to make sure he does actually leave the house.
Yep. You see that as you go down the stairs he just went down, obviously he takes them much faster. You can see it leads straight to the front door from these stairs. It's a beautiful front door with lovely glass panels inside of it. And as he goes over and puts a hand on the front door, you can see that he suddenly pauses and he says, "Oh my goodness." And he like wrenches his body, but it's as though he's stuck to the door.
Yeah. Okay.
You hear Ava on his shoulder scream in terror, and she says, "Master, your hand!"
I want to hasten my pace towards him.
Yep. As you do so, he lurches and wrenches and tries to break free, but in so doing, you can see that his hand where it touched the doorknob has turned to ice. Before we go further here, jumping upstairs to John. Actions you'd like to take as you clear out of the room onto this first landing. There is a door across. The human-sized version is open, but then there's staircase up and staircase down. The people in front of you are all like slowly trudging their way over to the staircase going down.
Yeah, I would have no idea where Hassan is.
You would hear the booming of his voice below, or the booming of the master's voice, and you would not hear Hasad's voice, but you would hear the master like thumping his way across the ground towards, and then you would hear him trying the doorknob and then saying, "Oh no."
So, quick look back. How far are we along the evacuation, and can I see the hive as I'm standing in the doorway?
You have no idea where the hive is. The hive is frickin' gone. But you can see the curtain tassels snaking across the ground towards the fire. And you can also see that there are no longer any humans in the main study room. All that's left is the ice sculpture.
I will shout a quick, "Make sure to get out, my friend," as I dash alongside the evacuation line.
Yeah, absolutely.
To where the booming kind of voice is.
Yeah. Pardon me. I got some water stuck in my throat. In that case, as you are going back to the evacuation group who are making their way down the stairs, you see up ahead there is a slight commotion. One of the people, overburdened by coins, has tripped on the stairs. They tumble down part of the human-sized stairs, and their coins go everywhere. And they stop to pick them up.
I will then try to help that person up with a sort of, that's quite alright. We can get them back later, hopefully.
But as you are saying that, they say, no, it's mine. I need them. I need these.
Do you need them as much as you need your life, my
Yes,
friend?
more. They're more important. Move out of the way. They actually bodily try to shove you out of the way to get to some of the coins.
Then I will gently try to take a step aside and let them fall farther as they try to shove me.
As you do so, by the way, their burlap sack vanishes, given that they have betrayed you. The
Yes.
coins that were in that then spill down off of them as well, and you can hear them give a panicked yelp and go scrabbling to try to grab it. Your sidestep was effortless, and they didn't really pose much of a threat doing so anyways. But you notice that some of their coins that have now spilled from their sack, the other people are stopping to pick those up and add them to their collections, much to the chagrin of the one trying to chase them, who yells, "Thieves! Thieves! Those were mine!"
So, I do have an idea at this point. I would like to do something interesting regarding Shield Wall. I would like to, it's probably a manifestation, I'm not sure if I can pull it off, to have the Shield Wall be a sort of slide down the stairs to just move everything towards that direction.
Oh,
so to
that's
speak.
sick. Describe to me your paired action first, because this is definitely energy work.
So, the shield wall starts with a stomp shout or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I will, with an unyielding attitude, go, "This is going nowhere," and sort of stamp on the ground to kind of indicate the direction of the slide.
Oh, I see. It's like a stomp
downstairs.
the foot and then a slide across the ground with the foot.
Yes.
Yeah. And in that case, okay, that's actually super cool. The one other thing I would add is, since this is an oversized staircase, this is going to be a long shield wall. How are you going to add the need for that length into the paired action? Or whether the paired action you've already started or a second one on top of it?
So I would make it a solid motion to, if that's at all possible, have the shield wall move along with the group instead of having it stretch the entire length.
Oh, I see. In that case, well, let me think about that.
So I have stomped, I have created the slide that would
Yep.
probably, if the slide does appear, that would probably get people moving, and then just
would.
with the assurance of a person that has never seen a skateboard in their life, kind of try to skate downward. That's the second pair deck.
You have a plus to reflex, which is definitely going to help a lot with this. And so in that case, yeah, you would kind of be pulling the shield wall, the shield slide with you as you're going. This is really cool. Yeah, I'm okay with this. Definitely going to be a little taxing on the essence front, but I think that's fine.
Yeah, sure.
And as you are zooming down, you hear the of people sliding down. A few of them even trying to grab coins as they are sliding on the shields. You hit the bottom landing, and people go kind of skidding out. A few more coins go spilling out of their persons. Yelps of indignity, and a few more yells of thief. You see that another fight has started where someone is picking up someone else's coin. The person whose coin is being picked up for the first time since this has started actually punches them across the face. The person who is going to steal goes down, but bringing up the rear is the person who tried to shove you, who is still yelling, "Thief! Thieves! All of you thieves!" You hear they're getting more and more beside themselves. Actions you'd like to take on this landing, you can see the next staircase is kind of like if you came out this side, it's like a right angle, or like a 180, and then you can go down another staircase. Actions from here.
I would like to pick up or try to grab one of the burlap sacks, so to
Yep.
speak. Have all the others vanish, and then just go, "Got your coins, people!" and run down the stairs.
And as you do
So run away
so,
with.
you hear a screaming fit of wrath as people start screaming at the top of their lungs, "Thief!" Their attention is drawn from each other as they start sprinting after you, not nearly as burdened by coins themselves. In some cases, ignoring the coins on the ground. The one thing of note is that one who was bringing up the rear yelling thief, when you turned around and taunted them, you saw that he had a weapon that he didn't have before. It looked like a knife, but you only got a brief glimpse at it before turning to sprint away.
Then I will just hit it. run for the hills, so to speak.
Yep. As you go sprinting towards the next staircase, you would see Hasad and the master, who is at the bottom of the stairs with his hand iced to the door. You can see that the master is literally kicking at the door, trying to pull away from it, but it seems to do nothing. And in fact, when he kicks at the door, his foot freezes to it too, and you can see the ice creeping up his arm and his leg towards him.
Would John suspect that door to be towards or be the exit as the two people?
It absolutely looks like the exit. It looks like it. You can see daylight coming through the beautiful glass panes. You can see the ocean just beyond from your vantage at the top of the staircase. Definitely the exit.
How high up is the lowest glass pane?
Lowest glass pane. It's actually pretty low. This is I'd say for dagas, it would be about chest height. For a human, well above their head. But from your point on the staircase, you can see through them very easily.
So I would like to finish the sort of chase by trying to throw the burlap sack through that window pane.
Oh, I see what you mean. So in that case, you'll be running a little bit to get to that.
Yeah, paired with if you want it, you can get it as I lob the thing towards the window.
A quick check, because John's going to have to run down an oversized staircase and run across an oversized front hall to get here. What is his vigor?
That is actually baseline, so he's probably ending up winded or losing a bar of stamina, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we go further with that, though, Hasad briefly and then the Hive, because Hasad is a little ways ahead of John.
So the stairs, do they end right in front of the door, or is there like a corridor?
No, there's a short corridor. I mean, short, oversized corridor leading to them with another pair of doors.
So, are those doors open? Because the master guy is already at the exit door, isn't he?
Yes, he is. The two side doors, which both seem to go into other parts of the house, are closed at the moment.
Oh, right. Sorry, I thought you meant like a set of doors that were needed to open to get
just one exit door,
okay.
and then two on either side leading to other parts of the house at ground level.
Okay. Yeah. So, and just out of interest, how high up is his hand? Like his hand's on the doorknob. How high up is that?
For you, with your stats, you could not reach it even if you jumped.
No, but like just in terms of like, stories off the ground.
Oh, I see.
Since you did use that measure.
We'll say maybe approaching 2 stories up.
Okay. Right. In that case, I will just, as I'm running down the stairs, I'll just call out to him. I am terribly sorry about this, but it seems you are in quite dire straits, so urgent remedial action must be taken. And as I say that, I reach into my sleeve, just sort of like leaning my scythe against one shoulder so my hand is free. Lean into one sleeve and pull out a couple of pieces of paper.
Yep. I should know this is the point at which his foot sticks to the door as well.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's why it's 2. Yeah. So I pull out these papers, which are like Japanese Ofuda talismans, and I swipe them across a little tassel on my clothing, which is a common item.
Yep.
Making them easier to throw, basically.
Yeah.
And then first one and then the next I fling towards him, and I am aiming at the frozen body parts, his hand and his foot.
Indeed. And to clarify, what are these?
As they fly, these little talismans begin to crackle with electricity because they are in fact reskinned lightning bolts.
Quite. One whips out and strikes his hand, and the second hits his foot, and you can see that the two begin to crack free. Yeah,
but basically the way I like to imagine it is sort of like it's based on like anime and stuff. So I kind of imagine them just sort of like sticking in place for a second, crackling, and then there's the actual lightning bolt
That's
explosion.
Actually sick. I actually quite like that. And he breaks free of the door, leaving the hand and the foot behind. You can see that rather than blood, there's just like a stony like stump where hand and foot both were as he staggers away. The maid on his shoulders screams and actually like hugs the side of his face and says, "I can't look." But as he does so, he says, "My goodness," and whips around towards you. And he says, "Well, how do I get out? What do I do?"
As he does this, is John at the point of throwing a sack through the window?
No, John is a little ways behind you, because you had a head start down the stairs.
Yeah. In that case, my attention hasn't specifically been drawn to the window yet, so I will just look around myself.
You'd see
with my
John
baseline sense.
rushing towards.
Okay, good. And do I see any other potential escape routes aside from the door?
In this like entry hallway, no. In here there's chandelier, there's the two doors. Though now that you're looking back towards the staircase, you do see that there is another door leading underneath the staircase, but presumably it just goes into another part of the house. There are no other notable windows in this room, given that the door is itself mostly a window, so you'd probably have to go to another room to find window options.
And just to clarify, the door is made of wood, I assume?
The door looks to be made of very heavy, finely made wood. With
Is
a lot
it
of glass.
varnished?
It is varnished.
It is, okay. Right, in that case, I will tell him I am unsure what evil sorcery is being employed here, but it is plausible that it has something to do with reflective surfaces. I would avoid touching anything glass, metal, or varnished, if at all possible. And let us well, actually, no, I don't need to investigate anything. Are there any other exits aside from this one?
He says, "Yes, we have a back exit, and there are the windows, of course, but even the back exit has glass to it." John, do you have any actions you'd like to take? Because you are not quite at window throwing yet, but you are close enough to engage in this conversation as you run.
I think there's no way out but through, my friends.
And before we get to John throwing through the window, we're going to jump back up to the hive. Tassel has entered fireplace.
Okay.
Fire is starting to spread along Tassel.
Just a quick check. There's probably no way for me that I would be able to stop the fire from spreading at this point, right?
No.
Okay. Everything going according to plan. Well, the hive can hear where the commotion is happening, right?
Oh yes, the master's booming voice is very easy to hear.
Okay. I will go above the staircase and then focus my hearing on anyone else inside of the house.
So
If there are
as of
still
now,
people that were left, unavailable.
oh, I see, yeah.
Just like in their rooms.
Right now you are up on like the high walkway at the top of the office. And so going to the place above the doorway, you do see that there is actually a small doorway in the walkway that leads into the stairwell area, but still at like a high point. Passing through that, how are you going to focus in to try to listen for sounds of people left over with the master yelling and the angry humans chasing John and the fire starting to burn in the office? Like, how are you going to focus your senses like this?
Can I use my folding fans, turn myself sideways and like try to deflect the sound waves?
That's kind of cool. I'd say at first it would be kind of ridiculous looking, but give me a little more to that.
Okay. So maybe the hive is going to be trying to make it like flutter excessively to make like counter noise of its own to
Yeah.
sort of like collide with the other sound, and just try to like
Yeah.
bad way.
That's so cool. Okay. I'm okay with that. And because of that, you would hear from up the stairs to the third floor the faint sound off, like muffled heavily by all the other noise going on, but enough for your amazing sensory to pick out, of a small voice behind a couple of layers of wall and things calling, "Master? Master, what's going on?"
Okay. Is that a human voice?
Yeah, human voice for sure.
How quickly is this fire spreading?
Peeking back through, you can see that the tassel, the flame is going along the tassel and is just about to reach the curtains themselves. At which point, all bets are off.
Yeah, that's gonna be bad. Do I have an estimate of how long it could take to get to that person?
Well, you are on this walkway thing, which does go up the stairs, though from there you'd have to find a way down. Your vigor is what?
0.
Yeah. It's not going to be immediate. Let me put it that way.
Okay. That's fine. Then the Hive is going to rush upwards because our mission is to evacuate as many people as possible, right?
And getting to the top of the stairwell takes you a little while because again it's oversized. There is again a human-sized stairwell built into the top of this stairwell that allows you to get down from the walkway level to the landing of this floor. There is not another staircase that leads up from here, but there are several doors, 4 in fact. Where do you want to go from here? I should note, as you hit this landing, you hear a couple of things. You do still hear the "Master," but you also hear the sound of snoring. And it's heavy, deep snoring, though not super duper loud. Definitely the snoring of a Dagas.
Okay. And at this point, I have seen 4 Dagas. Is that right?
At this point, you know of 3. You know of the Master, you know of his son, and you know he has a wife. And so there's, and I mentioned that there should be 5 Dagas in the building.
Okay. Do I know which ones those are?
You do not know which ones those are. They may actually be servants.
Okay. So the Hive is going to take advantage of the fact that it has 50 different mouths to scream at once. It's just going to start screaming fire as it's rushing through the hallway.
That's great.
Making its way towards the snoring Dagas.
Now, you do have 50 mouths, but they are quiet. They're little teeny mouths.
Yeah.
And what is your vitality stat?
0.
That's going to be the fucker. And so as you're rushing in the direction of the Dagas snoring, you do hear, with your amazing ears, the human voice saying, "Who's that? What's going on?" They're behind another door, different from the one where the Dagas snoring is.
Well, open the door.
Yep. And as you do so, you can see there is a man in like a sleeping gown who's carrying a candle. And you can see that behind him is a timid-looking woman who is also in a sleeping gown. They're both kind of peering out towards you, and he says, "Who are you? What are you doing here?"
Hello, we are the Hive. The mansion is currently on fire. Please
What?
evacuate.
Fire?
Please evacuate immediately.
Of course! Quick! He grabs her hand and they both go sprinting towards the stairs, but as they do so, she screams because she sees smoke coming out from the study room, which is immediately at the bottom of the flight of stairs they would have to descend.
I will let them figure that out. I go check on the other, on the Dagas.
Yep, absolutely. There is fortunately a human-sized door in their room as well. Clicking it open, the room inside is quite cramped, though oversized. It's like a bunk room. And there are 2 Dagas in here, in like a set of bunk beds, both snoring fitfully, their huge arms lolling out of their like undersized beds onto the ground.
Okay. Yeah, it would be convenient if I had a way to make noise, but I really don't have any. So the Hive is going to slam the door open with all the force that it has, which admittedly isn't that much.
Yeah.
And it's just going to try to like make them, try to wake them up by slamming the door.
It does not work. They continue to snore away.
Is there anything that could be brought down quickly that would make a lot of noise?
Give me some ideas.
Grandfather clock.
No grandfather clock in this room, though you do see one of those like oil lamps, like the ones that you can, like old-timey oil lamps nearby that has glass.
Uh, And is the lantern lit?
It is not lit. It is by their bedside.
Okay. Can I focus on it and make it explode with the power of my mind?
Let me think about that. I'm going to need a pretty substantial manifestation pitch for that one, and I'm going to give you a moment to think about that because I'm going to jump back down to the other two. John, rushing up after the best way out is through, or whatever awesome line you had. You're close enough for a hurl of your sack.
Yeah. I will do the thing that's on top of my mind by starting to spin the sack, if that's at all possible at its weight.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Actually, clarifier. What's your might?
Also baseline. So
Okay. This is gonna be a
it's
tough.
probably
This is
more
gonna really be a tough
like-
spin.
I'm imagining this to be sort of a hammer throw kind of situation
Exactly.
from the weight. Going back to the Olympics.
Yeah.
And give it 2 spins as I let it fly, using hopefully that skill to direct it with the final
Yeah.
motion into the window.
Remind me your skill. I think it's 2.
That's 2.
That's going to be what's going to really make the difference here. The sack goes sailing through one of the lower panes and smashes it. And as it smashes it, you can see that something erupts from the broken pane of glass and slides down to the floor. A beautiful, shimmering ribbon that makes itself clear after a moment to be a snake. Or more specifically, maybe a worm might be a better way of calling it. It's long and gorgeous, thicker around than a human, but not nearly as big around as a Dagas. And as it descends, you can see that gold tumbles from it. Its long, elegant head looks like it is made of shards of glass, and it glitters with all the colors of the rainbow.
Finally getting to the meat of the situation, I will pull a small holographic projector
Yep.
out of my bags and throw it in front of me. That projector being my skin for the banner,
Ooh.
as the hologram of what looks to be a modernized version of the kind of generic real-time strategy have the armies collect at this point kind
Rally
of
point,
banner.
yeah.
As troops clothed similarly and with similar weapons to John appear, which is the effect of the banner.
Yep. As your troops start to emerge, however, you notice something. As the gold starts to drop off of this creature, the master and the maid stare at it. And in fact, the people who had been chasing John also stop to stare at the gold. This thing is shedding gold like a rain cloud shedding rain. And it kind of coils itself up, almost like a cobra with its body like coiled beneath it. It has small arms, kind of T-Rex like maybe, or Chinese dragon if you want to be less derpy about it. And its presence has dropped the temperature in the room by minimum 10 degrees Celsius. It kind of stares imperiously about, although it doesn't even come up to the midriff of the Dagas. However, the master bends down, reaching for some of its coins. Actions from Hasad, both before this happens and during it. So while John is deploying his waypoint after, or his rally point, so to speak, after throwing out the window.
Right. Okay. So, where am I compared to this dragon?
So it has materialized just in front of the door, the master, like near where the master's foot was frozen. He has staggered away before this, of course. Hasad is just behind John and just to John's left, which would put him, I'd say, 15 running paces from where the worm is materializing.
Okay, I kind of thought I was closer to the big guy than that, but that's fine.
You're close to the big guy.
that-
The big guy has staggered backwards, but his body is pretty long, right? Because he was like jerking and shuddering with big steps backwards.
Okay, sure. Yeah, in that case, I will just in my left hand for now, carry the scythe, while reaching into my sleeve for another lightning bolt of Fuda, and walking purposefully towards the dragon. I'm not throwing it just yet, but I'm like quickly walking in its direction while I draw this thing and like swipe it across my magical tassel.
You notice the temperature dropping as you take steps forwards. Not to the point of pain, but certainly to the point of discomfort. You can even see strands of your hair developing little ice crystals on them. Additionally, as you approach the worm, it turns its vision towards you. Its eyes are almost kaleidoscopic, the whole thing being somewhere between light and glass shards in terms of its body composition. And you can see that kind of swerving like a snake charmer. It kind of winds its head down to more your eye level, and kind of like gestures its head like this, and almost like when you whip your hair back when you're like in the water, like a stream of coins whips out from it and lands scattered on the ground in front of you. It gives an inviting little wave of its great snout, like gesturing for you to take the coins.
Okay. I will give it like a sort of flourishing bow with my arm, like, held down to my side in front of it. But rather than like kneeling to pick up a coin, I will then spring back up into a standing position and flick my hand out, and the Ofuda goes flying straight towards its snout.
Yep, absolutely. And you can see that as you do so, it jerks away, but you still get a hit on it with the bolt. And you can see that its body kind of jerks to the side and kind of sizzles into position. You can see that one of its like beautiful glass panels that make up its face has a heavy crack lacing through it now. And it lowers its head with its kaleidoscopic eyes leveled towards Hasad. Before we go further, John, as Hasad is going up and doing his bow, this is when the last of your soldiers has teleported in through your rally point. Sir, orders, sir!
Well, man, not like we haven't done this before. Stab the big snake until it stops moving.
Yes, sir!
And I take a running start and try to stab my taser rapier into one of the eyes.
Yep. As you start to charge towards it, this is when you can see the lightning bolt whips out and leaves a crack in its muzzle. It pulls backwards, and as it does so, it kind of like a coiling rattlesnake ready to strike. It pulls its body together in a tight ball, and as it does so, all of the coins that it has scattered on the ground begin to jut out long, jagged spines, creating like a bristling barrier around it, given that it's absolutely surrounded by the stuff. The spines are somewhere between an icicle and a shard of long, thin glass, and they all bristle out towards you like the spines of a porcupine. Some of your soldiers, as they get close, try to like knock them out of the way and shatter them, which does work, like the things break, but you notice that wherever they actually break one of these pieces of glass, their weapons develop frost crystals, like strikingly surrounding the section that touched and shattered the glass. Which makes them not only harder to use, but after one or two of these breaks, the weapon would actually snap under like the burden that the frost crystal had put onto them. And this is all that you observe within like 2 seconds of trying to wade forward through the spike field. What do you want to do from here, John?
I would just like to carry on, trying to wade through it with a +2 reflex, and again the 2 +2 skills, and then just try to make that one hit count, the one I can get through.
So you have, after another couple of steps, you're actually getting to a point where the spines are so prevalent that you cannot be moving. Like, you have to, like, carefully be pushing your way through them in order to make any progress at all. However, do you have a different, like, a different way you want to approach it from this point, or do you just want to keep trying to push your way through?
I don't see any good ways at this point, so I'm just going to push through. You
would also feel the temperature dropping dramatically. And as soon as you start using your arms to push through, you would feel the searing cold wherever they touch, even through your armor. Though never to the point, at least yet, where it feels like it's painful, but it doesn't feel like it is sickeningly painful.
Also do have 2 pluses to resilience, so I feel like I should be able to push through it quite a bit.
Precisely. Speaking of which, Hasad, what would you like to do from here? You can see that after your strike, the worm is withdrawing, and John and his soldiers have rushed forwards as it produces that spike field emanating from its gold coins. What do you want to do from here?
I would like to just actually, you know what I do? I see that these big spikes are forming. Can I, like I said before that I was walking before I did the bow thing. Can I keep walking, or are the spikes completely in front of me now?
You can walk a little bit more forwards and kind of weave your way between some of the looser stuff, but it soon begins to form quite a tight formation. That up ahead you can see John and his soldiers are having to seriously slow in order to push their way through.
Okay, cool. Right, great. So what I want to do then in that case is I want to just take it casually. I'm not bothering to rush because it'll look uncool if I get up to that point. So I'm not really in a hurry to get to the area they're at. Instead, I'm just sort of meandering my way through the spikes. And as I do, I pull out another Ofuda from my sleeve and again swipe it along to get it enchanted. But this is not the same as before. It is instead a different type of Ofuda. It is my waypoint reskin. And the 5 words or so message that I'd like to stick onto this, which, well, the aim is to throw it at the thing basically and get it to land somewhere nearby so that it hears the message. Even though normally it's supposed to be for communicating with allies, I just want it to let the snake thing hear me. And I want to like whisper, so I hold this thing up to my mouth and whisper to it before throwing it, and what I will just say is 5 words. 5 words-ish, maybe?
If you need a moment to think, I gotta check in with the Hive anyways.
No, it's fine. I
Yeah.
can't think of anything remotely good with that's only 5 words long, so I'm just going to go with we've met, do you know? And fling it, and then as soon as, well, first of all, I fling it at the snake thing. Does it try to dodge, or does it just let me hit it?
Let me follow up with the Hive before I resolve that. Jumping back upstairs, let's talk about exploding things with your mind.
I'm actually not going to use my mind. I'm going to use John's voice because I'm about to call John. If my hand mirror is off cooldown, that is.
You know, you called John
Before the fire.
Yeah, you called John before the fire. I think I'd be bending the cooldown pretty substantially to let you do it, but you called him for so short that I'm willing to be flexible in this case. So sure, we'll fire away. John would be midway through pushing through spines of glass.
Before I do that, by the way, I'm going to put my smartphone on maximum volume.
Yep.
And I'm going to point it towards the lantern as if it was like a remote control.
Yep.
And then I'll scream into the smartphone with several red voices at once. Hello, John. Can you please scream at the top of your lungs?
Not the time right now, Hive. I'm in the middle of excavating something, I think.
John yells back at the top of his lungs. What does the Hive want to do?
Okay. Just in general, first of all, he has 2 + 2 vitality, so I think he has a much better chance of waking them up just from screaming back at me right through the phone.
In fact,
and second, like I would be trying to point the smartphone sort of like a remote control and to like focus the sound into the lantern to make it explode. But if that doesn't work, that's fine.
In this case, you don't even need to go that far because his yell actually wakes up the 2. Oh, what? But it's not our shift yet, one of them says frustratedly.
Good job. And then the Hive ends the call. Hello, we are the Hive. There is a fire on the 2nd floor. You need to get out immediately.
There's a fire?
Yes, on the 2nd floor, preferably through the window.
Oh,
the Hive
no.
points to a window.
That's no good at all. They start to quickly shuffle out of bed. Their huge feet clomp dangerously on the ground near you as they like flop out of their bunk beds. One of them says, "Where are you? I can't see you."
He can see me? Okay. I'm going to start using my folding fan to draw attention.
Oh, there you are. Of course. Here, do you want help? I can get you out.
We can get out whenever we want. Find a way outside.
He says, "Yes, we'll go down out the front door then."
So a basic intelligence insight is probably going to tell me that the staircase is probably not going to be usable at this point, right?
Either that, probably not for a human. For these guys it might, because they're big.
Okay. Ooh. Is there a window in this room?
They do have a small window. Small for them, big for you.
Could they get through the window if they tried?
Maybe be a squeeze.
Okay. The second floor is on fire. Going another way would be preferable.
Oh, that's no. What do you think? But as they are considering this, one of them has opened the door to their room to check, and some smoke has billowed in. And as they do so, the humans that you were talking to outside come running into their room. "Please, please help! We can't get through. It's just fire!" And each of the two Dagas who are in this room take one of them up. "Don't worry, we'll get out of this." As they hurry over to their window and like fiddle to try to get it open. And they peel the thing open and look out. "Quite a fall. Let's get these two out first." They start quickly getting their bed sheets and tying them together to allow the humans to get out.
That's what I was going to suggest. So for now, the Hive is going to be standing in the doorway, using its folding fan to try to fan away the smoke.
And I'm guessing the human-sized doorway rather than the Daga-sized doorway.
Yeah. Close the Daga-sized doorway if it's open.
Yeah.
If I can even do that.
You would not be able to, but the Dagas would be able to close the door for you to get the smoke out of the room, which would leave you fanning to keep it from coming out under the cracks. Oh, excuse me. One moment. Popcorn, thank you. That's very kind of you. I got a thing of popcorn. Not going to eat it now, because I don't want to subject you guys to my chewing. Anyways, as you ward the bottom to keep the smoke out, you can hear the humans thanking the Dagas profusely, but you would also notice the sound of the fire is getting much closer. It's working its way up the stairs at substantial rate, clearly having found enough fuel to get very hot.
See, it kind of sucks that illusions don't really work on a fire, so that's... Okay, the Hive just looks behind its back to see how the evacuation is going.
Yep, and you can see that they've actually got their bedsheets to the point where they are lowering the two humans down.
Okay. What does the window look like? Is the wall sturdy around it? Is it made out of wood?
The wall around it is extremely sturdy. The window itself is square, and if it was like a human-sized window, it would be barely enough for you to get your shoulders through. It is also not close to the ground. It's like at Daga's torso level.
I cannot really think of a way to hit them. I could try to chew away at the window with my 15 mouths.
Probably not big enough to get one of these guys.
Yeah, and probably couldn't do that quickly enough, right? So
yeah.
I think for now the Hive is going to be just like fanning away the smoke and try to make them, hurry up.
You see that they pull up the bed sheet, and one of them says, "Can you get that on the bedpost?" There says, "Yep," as he's tying away. The other one reaches up to the window, which is like still kind of like it's a swing window, right? So it's still attached to the wall. And he takes it and with a mighty effort wrenches it off its hinges to just get that little bit more room in the through the opening. And as he does so, he says, "You first." The other one says, No, after you, please." And the other one says, No, you beat me in cards the other day, fair and square, I haven't paid you back. And he says, "Well..."
The Hive is going to use his hand mirror or the phone to scream into the ear of, let's say, the one on the right.
Yeah.
And it's just going to scream into the phone, which is going to be then in turn screaming directly into their ears, right? You first, now!
I just like the Hive being like, and then like
just dialing a guy that's literally next to
Yep.
him.
And as you do so, he says, "Oh, excuse me, very, very well then." And he takes the bed sheet and starts to kind of try to like awkwardly get his legs in through the opening, though it is a tight fit. The other one helps him with some helpful shoves. You hear a lot of gee. Thank you. That's very nice. And then he slides out, and you hear the bed sheet straining under his weight as he starts to go down. And then the bed sheet snaps. And you hear a plummeting noise. And you hear, "I'm all right," down from below. But this leaves the one who's left over without a bed sheet. He looks over his shoulder towards you, still wildly fanning smoke away. He says, "Will you be all right then?"
We can make the jump easily.
"Very well. I'm not quite sure I can." He goes over and starts to try to like get his upper torso out through. Pulls it back. You can see him shaking, still looking out of the window at the height.
Did the bed have a mattress?
The bed does have a
Yes.
mattress.
Okay. Why don't you use the mattress? Throw it down.
Well, they'll certainly be more comfortable than flagstone. And he pulls off the mattress and pushes it out and says, "Here," and then takes another one. "Put those down for me. I think I am likely to fall." And you hear the other one booming back, "Oh, very well." And as the mattresses are being set up, you can still see him shaking as he, like, very slowly starts to get himself out of the window.
So he's like in the window, but sort of like halfway and shaking.
Yeah, exactly.
Are his shoulders outside?
Not quite. He's gotten one leg through.
I'm going to stab him in the foot.
Ouch! Hey! But as he does so, as he says ouch, his body lurches and he starts to slide out the window. Oh dear! And he tries to like grab on either side. "Wait, but what if they're not ready? What if they're... Oh!" And he falls out of the window. You hear an earth-shattering thud as he hits the ground.
I hope he's okay, but at least he's outside, so mission accomplished.
Look around the window and see him lying just next to the two mattresses.
With zero luck, I'm luck pitching that he somehow fell onto a mattress. Or a conveniently placed like a stack of hay or something.
Quite.
Anyways, then the Hive effortlessly jumps out and lands with 4 pluses to reflex.
He did. As you jump out, you can see that, first of all, smoke pouring off the building. You're jumping into like a high street behind. There's a good number of humans and plenty of Dagas. People are looking terrified and concerned and are trying to get the people who are evacuating out of the way. You can see that the one who just jumped is badly hurt. Like, he's clearly broken at least his leg. And he's howling on the ground in pain as the other one's like, there, I'm better out than in, as in trying to like pull him away from the building. You can also see that a number of like city guards are trying to come in for a fire brigade, but they're humans, right? They definitely aren't ready for this. And there are some Dagas nearby who are literally just trying to bring out like their drinking vessels, like anything to get some water onto the fire, but it's much too little too late, judging by the blaze you can see on the roof. From here, jumping back to the other group. Now, Hasad, as you are whispering into your like priming your message, you can see that the great worm has opened its mouth and spews not fire but light, shooting it towards John and his men. John, you are pushing your way through the thicket of spines when you can see its open maw, maybe 5 paces in front of you, and a great flare of light shoot from it like a hose. What do you want to do?
Brace myself for impact.
Yeah.
Is probably the good guess.
And as you do so, the sensation is strange. It doesn't hurt per se, but you are blinded completely. Like, your vision is full of blinking lights, and you feel cold, but nothing worse than that. In this blinded sensation, it does make it substantially harder to push your way through this, and you can hear like grunts from some of your soldiers. One of them says, Sir, not able to see anything, sir. Any ideas?
Well, first thing first, guys. We are going to go back to the basics. Anybody of you remember asteroid detail? As I would like to ask first if to arms is out of cooldown.
Yes, it is.
Then I would like to energy work it a bit, because I want to summon work gear, but more modern one. Asteroid detail being specifically the kind of punishment a soldier might get in outer space, having to mine pieces off of asteroids for water, so to speak.
As you would say this, one of them says, Don't remind me, sir.
And then I would like that to be the speech that summons up. I would say plasma cutters, if that's at all possible.
You know, I would be okay with that, like a industrial plasma cutter type deal.
Yeah.
One for each of your soldiers?
Yes.
And yourself?
Yes.
Excellent. You feel the plasma cutter enter into your hand. You know where the spines are, you know where the worm is. Are you going to start cutting?
I'm going to start cutting, and I'm going to start ordering that we cut the spines first, in the hopes that we can maybe recruit some of the people around.
Yep, absolutely.
To fighting this thing.
As you do so, you hear, Yes, sir! And you hear the plasma cutters leaping to life as they start to hack their way through. Hasad, meanwhile, the light breath was not directed towards you, but you can see that it absolutely blanketed John's contingent, and also hit some of the evacuees behind you guys. They had been rushing forwards to get gold, but then when the spikes erupted, they were pushed backwards, and at the moment seem caught between like overwhelming greed for the gold and overwhelming fear of the worm and its spines. What would you like to do? This is right before you have thrown your tassel.
The talisman, yeah, the Fuda. I just adjust my aim slightly, I suppose, to accommodate its movement, but otherwise I keep going on with what I was doing before.
Yep. The tassel hits it in the side of the head. It doesn't try to avoid it whatsoever. And as it does so, its mouth closes and the light breath stops, and it whips its way back towards you. I have a feeling I know what you're doing, but talk me through it.
Yeah. So as it hears this message, since it's looking at me, I guess I'll mouth the words along with the voice that it hears, although it's hearing it inside its own head rather than originating from me. And that is the paired action for Familiar Face.
Quite.
So I would like to pitch that wherever this thing is from, I travelled there and encountered it there, in whatever form it was in at the time.
Yeah.
As for the specific nature of the relationship, I obviously would have tried to learn as much as I could about it, because that is literally all that I use this for, basically. Hasad's whole shtick is learning about new places. But given that this thing is somewhat monstrous in nature, I wouldn't necessarily have a friendship with it. So if you want to make it an antagonistic relationship, that's fine. I don't mind.
Sure. I'm going to adjust two things. One, I am going to adjust that you did not know this specific one, but you knew one of its kind who told it of you. Second thing I'm going to adjust, and given that this is an unconventional use, I'm going to add that unconventional layer to it. Second of all, it is going to be an antagonistic relationship. You are, by their standards, one of the ones that got away.
Okay.
To you, gold has little power, and to them that is memorable and noteworthy. Now, the things that you learn. These creatures, if they have a name, you do not know it. But what you do know is they are from a frozen waste that is famed for its gold, and they are the source of it. Their gold is real, but they must draw people to where they produce their gold, in order, unsurprisingly perhaps, to feed. You can think of them as being somewhat equivalent to a lindworm, which is what I'm largely basing them off of.
Oh, right, I see. Yeah, that makes sense.
As such, with this information in mind, what would Hasad like to do? You can see that the worm is still staring at you, just for the moment.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just taking a note of this. Right, sorry.
No problem.
So, they, what I would like to do is, I guess I keep walking towards it with my scythe drawn, and just smile nonchalantly and say to it, I may not value gold very much at all myself, but others do. It has its uses, and that was enough. That I saw the value in taking some of yours the last time I visited, and would you look at that? You've been generous enough to provide some more. How kind. I'll enjoy taking that and leaving with it as well, just as I escaped your friend before.
It
And I give it a
flicks
wink.
its snout, and more gold showers towards you. But as it does, in midair, the gold becomes barbed, like caltrops flying towards you.
Yeah. And of course, I was taunting it, so I was definitely expecting it to attack me.
Yep.
So I would like to make use of my 1 vigor and 2 reflex to try and weave my way past this oncoming wall of caltrops.
Yeah, this is going to be more of like a diving roll. Maybe not precisely a dive, maybe not
Yep,
precisely a
that's fine,
roll,
yep.
but like a
No,
quick
actually,
lateral
that's fine.
movement.
That's fine.
That's fine?
No, if I'm going to be making a sudden movement, I'm okay with diving.
Yep.
I dive into a roll and then spring up basically at the end of the roll, and just sort of dust myself off casually.
As you are dusting yourself up, it opens up its mouth and unleashes another blast of light breath from its mouth. A beautiful rainbow ribbon that sizzles through the air towards you.
And would I? Well, obviously I saw it just use that recently, but like from my time being there before, did any of them try to do that to me?
I would say that when you encountered them before, none of them did that to you because they were not used to having to fight in the place you encountered them. They're used to people coming to them.
Okay.
This is a much more active situation.
Fair enough. In that case, is Fork in the Road off of cooldown?
Yes, it is.
Cool. I would like to. I stop where I am and just look straight at it, not attempting to avert my eyes, but I use Fork in the Road so that it's overriding my vision and I don't see out of my actual eyes at the moment.
Fuck, that's so cool.
And my guess is that this thing is breathing blinding light at me because it's trying to take some action or another while I'm distracted. So effectively what I'm trying to do here is I want the vision I get to be the vision I would see through my eyes if I wasn't being blinded by the blinding light.
Fucking hell, that's so cool. Okay, before I resolve that, John, plasma cutter in hand, eyes still winking with light, you feel your way through the spike field, carving and hacking at far faster rates. But then your hand touches something frigid, like dry ice frigid. I mean, John's probably wearing gloves. Like, he has armor on, so I'm guessing
Yeah.
the armor extends to his hands. So it's not like, oh, bare skin-to-skin contact, that's awful, right? But you touch something frigidly cold that does not feel like a barb. What do you want to do?
Jam my sword directly forwards into that.
There's a sharp snap as the cracking of the sword's tasing goes like blasting into it. and you don't hear like a roar. Instead, it sounds like the shattering of 100 glass panes of different sizes and shapes. And you can feel the thing writhe as the coil that you have stabbed like shoves you backwards. So it feels like, how to describe this? Imagine, if you can, the feeling of like being hit by a car in the shape of a snake going about 15 kilometers an hour. Like more of a huge push rather than a thump.
Yeah. So as a point of reference, 50 kilometers an hour is slow biking speed.
Yes, I know. That's why I'm saying more of a push than a punch.
Yeah. Then I would like to posit that since this is a reskinned bastard sword and I have not yet resolved how I want to rework the effect on being low stamina, and I've lost a lot of stamina running around before.
Yep.
The idea of it was that this sort of sword works to reclaim energy, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to just basically empty the battery into the thing, as long as my sword touches it, so to speak.
I see. So you wanna completely release your tase into it, so to speak. Yeah. The sparking flies off of its skin, presumably, and you feel that the push that you are feeling, like shoving your back against some of the barbs that have not been cut, pauses. You are still like kind of caught under its coil, so to speak, but your upper arms and your torso are completely free. In this moment of pause, what would you like to do?
Suggest order my men to break through and hit it. It's just ahead. Is
And
what I'm thinking.
As you do so, you hear some of their plasma cutters tumble to the ground. One or two men yell, war, like ki, like striking yells. As they strike into it at different points, you hear shocks and zaps go off, and one of the men a little ways behind you yells, "I got its head, sir! I got its head!" As you do so, you hear more of the shattering glass noise of its roar, and the man who yelled, "I got its head," gives like a as he gets pulled into the air, presumably clinging to it. Or maybe grabbed by it, though you did not see, it didn't seem like the grabbing type. Hasad, what you see through your ingenious fucking fork in the road is its head goes rushing out towards you with it, like, again, a long shard-like beak. Its mouth doesn't open. Instead, its mouth closes, using its long glass shard-like head as a lance to impale you.
Awesome. So again, I use reflex, obviously. In this instance, I am dropping to the ground, but I specifically want to fall backwards because I am still holding my scythe. And at the same time I'm falling backwards, I swing the scythe up with the sharp edge of the blade basically aligned in the same direction I'm facing. So the idea is this thing should fly overhead, not expecting me to dodge because I'm supposed to be blind, and its underside should just scrape along the point of the scythe.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, that's sick. So you're unseaming it, to use the Shakespearean language.
Yes.
And as it does so, you hear the shattering noise of it, or the cracking of its body. You hear the roar emit from it of cracking light, or of cracking glass. And then you hear nearby a man yell, "I got its head, sir!" And then both you and the man are hoisted into the air. Where it stopped moving, your scythe point actually hooked in. And as such, when its head leans back, you are pulled up, or rather your scythe is pulled up. Are you going to be pulled up with your scythe?
Yes, I think I shall. So just to check, did the scythe like hook onto the end of its mouth, or did it actually get embedded into the body at some point?
It actually got embedded into the body. It's like it drew a line, and then where it stopped is where you hooked up.
Fantastic. Yes, definitely let myself get carried up then.
You are blind. And this is, at this point, Fork in the Road isn't going to be helping you more. So you are going to be doing this blind. As you are pulled up into the air, scythe first. First of all, you feel yourself, obviously, because you're going from on the ground to up in the air, you feel yourself swinging in down, probably towards its body. How do you want to contend with this?
Towards its body. So basically, I am just clinging on to my scythe. I've got a point in might and a couple in skill, plus 2 in luck, if that helps at all. So yeah, I'm clinging onto the scythe with so it actually has quite a long shaft. So what I would like to do is I've got one arm like gripping it up roughly near the end of the blade, and I would also like to wrap my legs around it, similar to like fireman on a pole type thing. And with one free hand, I reach into my sleeve again to take out yet another of my lightning bolt talismans. And I actually don't need to touch it against my magic tassel this time because I'm not going to be throwing it. Instead, I just slide it into the crack in the thing's body as if it was like a post box or something. Like a letter into the post box.
And before we go further with this, John, down at your level, you hear your soldiers striking. You hear the man as he's hefted into the air by the worm. What would you like to do from here? Your legs are pinned. Your arms and torso are free. You've discharged your taser into this thing, and its coil isn't pushing you further.
The first thing I will yell out is to Johnson, who I will assume is the name of the soldier hoisted upward.
Now.
I do owe you a drink later, my friend. Then. So my weapon is about empty now, I'm guessing, from the movement before.
Yeah.
And I'm still not seeing all too well, if at all.
Yeah.
Then I'm not quite sure if there's anything for me to do at this point. To be honest.
Sure. If it helps, you have everything off cooldown besides 2 arms. I'll give you a moment to think to follow up with Hasad's thing.
Sure.
Because as you you slot this little lightning bolt into the cleft that you've opened, I hear a pop and a crack, and then there is a great burst. I don't remember the name of the fucking thing, but you guys might. There's this type of glass type thing that's made in such a way that it's really tough, and then when you break it, it just fucking explodes. It's like a long, thin tail. You know?
It's a king's something, or princess drop or something like that. So it's
something,
a name in there.
Something.
Oh yeah, that is it. Yeah, it is the princess.
Prince something's drop. Yeah. This thing's torso explodes with the force of that. Glass shards ripping into Hasad as he's flung bodily off of it.
Oh, no, Prince Rupert's drop.
Prince Rupert's drop. Thank you very much. Yeah. Hasad, as you are flung through the air, you land on the ground. Oh, God, I just realized something. Fuck. What's your luck?
2.
Okay. Okay, so that's not going to kill you. You are thrown into the field of spikes that were there, which would rend your clothes and give deep slashes up your sides and your legs, not to mention the front of you having been peppered by glass. I don't know Hasad's injury track record, but certainly on my missions, he has never sustained this bad of an injury, and it would be horrific.
Yeah. Definitely would. So, yeah, I get catapulted through the air by this explosion and roll through the glass. And I definitely take a moment to just sort of lie on the ground, sort of breathing deeply. And then, and here I am 100% counting on my double plus luck, I reach down to my belt where my nostrum is kept.
Yep. It has
Still
not fallen
intact.
off. It is still intact.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Pull it off, uncork it, and I will start off, I guess, with one swig from the nostrum.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm aiming for here is that I want to heal myself, but because I don't want to... Okay, okay, I know what I want to do. So, I want to heal myself, but I specifically want to... Oh, Okay, no, actually, okay. I want to go for as powerful of a heal as I can get with one swig of the nostrum, basically.
Yep.
So, ideally, like mid-power healing. But I also would like the side effect to be that. Actually, no, I don't. Sorry, no.
Here, do you want a moment to think? I want to check in with the Hive real quick.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah,
I
you
just
think?
remembered what happened to someone else who made a similar request in a previous mission. So no. What I would like to do is I want to heal my wounds only slightly, but I want the focus of the healing to be on the nerve endings, so that they no longer are sore, basically.
Okay.
The actual wounds don't really need to close. I just need to be able to keep, fighting, so this thing doesn't eat me or something.
Yeah.
In terms of a side effect, I will say that the side effect could be the equivalent of like taking blood thinners. So I'll actually be bleeding more profusely than I normally would.
Oh, sick.
But
Yeah. I'm 100%
the wounds
okay
are
with this.
technically a little bit healed.
Yeah. In that case, as you are drinking, John, you hear the explosion of smashing glass, but you hear the explosion passing down the thing's body towards you, as in each piece. What do you want to do? You have like less than a second of warning.
So, what I was about to do anyway is I would like to summon a shield wall at a bit above a human's height,
Yeah.
on top of basically the entire entryway.
Yep.
The dagger is an ally at this point, so it shouldn't impact this, but it should definitely impact whatever's left of the beast.
Yeah.
So I would like to have just a protective ceiling above me and the servants, so to speak.
Yep. This means, if I understand correctly, you're still going to take the blast.
The shield wall should take the blast.
Oh, so you're putting it
point.
between you and it? Pardon, I thought it was above you and it.
So maybe this is just a bit. So there's still parts of the snake in front of me.
Oh, yeah, it's like it's pushing against you still.
Right. Yeah, then definitely in front, a bit to the top if that's at all possible.
Yeah.
But
sure.
yeah, then I would like to. If I have a semblance of the snake in the head, this probably might get into territory of impossible. Would it be an idea to cover it in shields?
Too complex of a surface. If it was a pretty basic, if it's like a blob, right? We could maybe talk. But since it's a long, windy snake, that would be a pretty complicated shield.
Sure.
Sure.
So then maybe just a dome around me.
What would be your paired action for this shield wall, given that your legs are pinned?
My legs are pinned.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm just a stomp, a shout, or similar. Then I'm just going to shout, "Not today, foul beast!" As I swave my hands in the sort of motion around me, if that's at all possible.
Yep, absolutely.
To motion the dome.
The shield wall would emerge just as the explosion is reaching you. And you can feel like the shield like strain under the force of the explosion. However, as you do so, you also hear a couple of yells and gasps, and then a pause. Before we go further, though, let's jump back over to the Hive. You are muted.
How many people are outside?
Outside with you at your side.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just fell down looking around how many people were successfully evacuated so
You
far.
managed to evacuate 2 Dagas and 2 humans from your side.
And there's no one else outside?
There's no one else from the manor on your side, but there's plenty of like passers-by and fire brigade people and those who are concerned and trying to help.
Oh, is that because we didn't escape the same way that the others were escaping?
Yes, you guys went out a window at the back of the building.
Okay, immediately run away then to check the other side.
Absolutely. As the Hive goes rushing around, the Dagas, who was not hurt in the fall, says, "Where are you going, little friend?"
And as the Hive is rushing forwards, its top side of the body is sort of like hunching over until it just like literally falls to the ground and starts slithering.
And you hear, "Oh, are you quite all right?" As you go whipping around a corner. You manage to take a turn and then another turn, and you come to like a beautiful dockside front of the house, which is next to a couple of other like big oceanfront manors that are all pretty tight together. It's like somewhere between a townhouse and a manor. But you see the front door. You can see a panel, like a glass pane, has been punched out. And there's like a sack of gold on the steps in front, which has attracted the attention of some passersby as well. You can see that there is Dagas who is approaching the door and looks as though they're going to knock on it, saying, "Is everyone all right in there?"
Okay. But no one in here has been evacuated yet?
No, the door is still closed.
Yeah, that's pretty concerning.
You hear
And I
yells
hear
from
that-
the beachfront as well as people out here start to realize there's a fire in the house.
Yeah, and do I hear what's happening inside with the snake and all that?
You can, but it feels muted to you. Like, as though the sound is much less able to escape, despite there being an open panel of glass, than it normally should be.
Okay. Does it seem... It obviously seems antagonistic towards us, right?
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Can I again like lean against the wall, listen in, and activate viewpoint? I am not looking at this creature, but I am listening.
Absolutely, and you can hear the sounds of glass tinkling and the cracking of its body. And as you activate viewpoint, this is as it is exploding, by the way. Your vision is absolutely wild. Like it sees the world so differently from you. So you can see these like streaking lights, and it doesn't see people in terms of color. It sees them as strange moving constellations. And although I should note, you can see the gold plenty fine. But you can see that it's as its body is like being rent apart, its head, though in like, how to describe this? Imagine it's like shedding its skin. You know what I mean? Like a thinner part of it is kind of trying to evacuate as it pulls up and away back towards the door.
Okay. So it's trying to escape then.
Seems like it.
So as it's turning around, what would it see?
It turns and you can see it starts to go for the kick, like the punched out pane of glass. So it's like as though it's like snaking its way through the air to go out through that open panel.
How far away am I from the window?
You are just coming towards it. Like this is the front door, which has many big panes of glass on it, and it's one of those door panes. So you're in full sight of this and you're approaching it.
Okay. So I want to lunge forwards with my stiletto and try to stab it in the head as it's coming out.
Now, there is one issue to that, which is that this is a Dagas-sized door, meaning that the panel it's coming out of is quite high in the air, higher than you could get to even with a jump. There is also a Dagas who is at the door, like a little bit in front of you, who is knocking on it, yelling, "Is everyone all right in there?" He tries the knob, and it is locked from the outside.
So given that this is medieval wall, house, I'm imagining it would be quite uneven, right?
Yes.
Is there something for me?
It's shockingly not uneven, but is still
Okay.
uneven by modern standards.
Right, but there's definitely something for me to catch onto, right?
Yes, for sure.
Okay, so just jump upwards, prop myself up by holding onto a random brick or something, a piece of lumber, I don't know.
Yep.
And then just jump out of there, up towards the window, and try to step forwards.
And as you stab, and I'm guessing that as you're running, are you like trying to flicker a viewpoint so that you can try to time this to get it right as it's coming out?
Yeah, I would maybe close my eyes and activate the viewpoint again as I am like leaping towards the window.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yep. And then from there, jump, and your stiletto slams into its skull. It was I described it earlier as being dragon-like. In this state, it's more thin and wispy, kind of like more like a ribbon, like I was describing earlier, with the end of the ribbon being a couple of thin panels. You know what I mean? And your stiletto plunges into it. It feels much like chiseling the glass at the beginning, and the head snaps and shatters. It doesn't burst into an explosion of glass, but instead just kind of cracks, like when you like if you ever have seen like a frozen puddle in winter and you pick up the pane of glass and like a pane of ice and then drop it on the ground, just like that.
Nice. Okay. Does it seem dead?
Not only does it seem dead, you can become invisible because of your stiletto if you want.
Nice. Okay. So then I would crawl inside through the window, as no one is going to notice me right now anyways.
Yep, absolutely. As you do so, you can see Hasad. I'm guessing, Hasad, after you drink your nostrum, you would start trying to get to your feet.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
You would see Hasad bleeding profusely getting to his feet. And this is from the Hive's point of view. You would see John. Would John drop the shield wall immediately, or would he leave it up?
That depends. Do I have a sense of danger?
You can hear your soldiers quickly chattering comms to each other as they try to clear the area. You can hear from what they're yelling to each other in like your local like military slang. You would hear them effectively saying, "No sight of enemy, not sure where it's gone to."
All right, and we can probably see quite a bit yet.
You only have 2 soldiers who can actually see. Yeah. Everyone else, including you, is still working on getting their vision back, though you can see kind of big blocks of light and color.
Let's commence the evacuation for now, would be the order, as I do drop the shield wall in order to not hinder escapees again.
And as you do so, and give this order, you notice that all the spines that had been erupting from gold pieces are gone. The gold lingers, but you can see that the people who were so infatuated with it seem less so. And the master of the house, who had been sitting on the ground holding handfuls of it with his one hand, shakes his head and says, Can we get out yet?" Yelling towards you.
Yes, let's. So there is a human-sized door on the ground.
There is.
Then I would like to... So I can't see well enough yet to do it myself, but I would like to body slam into it to open it.
Yep, absolutely. You stagger towards it and body slam into it, and it pops open. And the master hurries over and turns the doorknob with his good hand, and it doesn't freeze. As the door slides open with the hive still in the panel, like the punched out panel of it, it opens up. His staff start to hurry out. He says, "Quickly, everyone! Quickly before the fire reaches us!" The Dagas who is outside says, "Grobas, what on earth is going? Oh, goodness," he just sees the smoke. Quickly, out! Where's your wife and son?" And he says, "I don't know, my good man, I don't know," as he goes staggering outside with his staff hurrying behind him. John, having body slammed the door open, the Daga's door opens behind, leaving, like, kind of framing you in it as it opens up, so you're not knocked to the ground. Actions that you would like to take as the staff are starting to hurry outside, escorted by these soldiers of yours who can still see.
So the last action I'm going to probably make is try to intercom Johnson, who has probably just as Reece been impaled by the spikes as he fell down.
And as you call out his name, you do not hear a response.
All right then. I will commence with the evacuation for now.
And Hasad, as you pull yourself to your feet, your vision still mostly gone, like big blocks of light and color. What do you want to do?
Well, I guess I am just sort of blinking my eyes a bit to try and get my vision to eventually come back. But now that I'm not in excruciating pain, I affect a nonchalant walk and casually stroll out of the house.
And Hive, actions from you as you see the evacuation resuming.
Okay, they do not need my help to evacuate, so I'm just listening in to hear if anyone else is in this room, but I assume not even for a process to sensor it would be enough to, listen for voices through roaring fire.
Roaring fire is dominating the scene, and people from the like dock front are rushing in to help try to get people away from the house.
And
But
there's
as-
no one lingering around collecting any pieces of gold.
No, they are no longer being drawn to the gold. And as Hive observes this, you all feel your Enclave badges ping. Final actions.
Well, the Hive pings out.
And Hasad.
I turn to look at John and I say to him, I told you it was all going according to plan.
As it did. Do you want to stick around? I'm probably going to break the bad news to our esteemed host.
I wish you the best of luck with that. However, I had probably best get back to Enclave HQ, get medical to take a look at some of these injuries, and I will just give you a nod, a smile, and then tap my badge to ping out.
And John, now that the people in the house have been all pulled out to the side of the docks, and the houses nearby are also being evacuated, what would you like to do? The master is standing with his staff and is checking in with them.
I would definitely like to send one of the persons still seeing among my staff to look quickly for Johnson, not at the risk of his life.
Yep, he does find him, and he
then-
pulls him out, saying, "It's too late for him, sir."
All right, that's going to be the next thing. But first, duties. As I walk up to the master, are the two other Daga that the Hive found in the house with him?
One of them is, though you do not know which of the Daga around him are of his house.
Yeah. And the Hive is still around, or has the Hive pinged out
The
already?
Hive is gone. You have no idea where he is.
I have no idea where it is. Well, then I'm going to walk over.
You also don't know anything about his wife, because I never told you.
Oh, you were told there was a wife, but nothing more than that.
Yeah, you don't know that she turned to
Right.
ice, though.
Yeah.
I will surmise that the state of the house is in, it's probably. So this would be an intelligence insight, probably far beyond John's capability to guess that both of them have been turned into ice statues by the monster.
Impossible for you to say.
Even the prince?
The son, you can say. I think it is fair to say that John would put together that the worm was responsible for turning him to ice.
Yeah. All right then. I walk up towards the master, look straight up at him, and address him with, "Excuse me, sir."
And he looks down. Yes, it's you again. Thank you. Thank you, you were right. That I could never have imagined or dreamed of something this awful.
And as I do a salute, I will start with, "I am incredibly sorry to tell you. It will take some time to process, but I am rather sure that your son, most definitely, and your wife have sadly become victims of that dastard thing."
You're sure?
Yes. Do you want any help of mine with funeral proceedings or the likes?
But no, maybe they got out. I can't think about that yet.
Yes, then do go look for them.
Yes.
And if you do need any help, I will be here for another hour, perhaps.
Thank you. Thank you for your help. And for your men's help. He gestures out to your soldiers who are assisting with the evacuation. I'd pay you handsomely, but I can't think about that right now.
Then don't. We shall be rewarded according to what is owed.
You can see his staff kind of coming around him, and a few of his mates kind of pat his legs and try to say soothing words, and his head of staff tries to speak to him, but he just buries his head in his remaining hand and sits down on the pier. And on that note, we will end the mission. Nicely done, lads.
Very nice. Honestly, I thought when you said that his wife was dead, I was like, I see. So we failed the mission as soon as we didn't keep him in the room. My thought process was basically because he had picked up a coin, right? And I thought, oh right, he took the coin to his bedside. His wife saw it, and somehow or another the coin froze her.
Bingo. Yeah.
Yes.
So I made this mission as a play on dragon sickness, but as you succumb to the dragon sickness, you turn to ice. And I will tell you, the focus word Krautrock was fucking miserable until I started thinking about like Germanic folklore stuff to do with stones, and that brought me to Lindworms, and I was like, okay, we can work with this from there.
Actually, on that subject, since you mentioned Lindworm, I actually realized like halfway through the session that I was wrong about that, because I thought I knew what that was, but actually I was thinking of the lambton worm, which is an English thing.
Yeah, lambton worms are not terribly far.
About a worm that got chucked in a well and then grew really, really big.
Yeah, exactly. I was kind of trying to play into that too, because of course all these myths are interconnected.
Yeah.
Just to briefly run down, Aurora Borealis should be pretty obvious. Current Predator credibility, the fact that no one took it seriously at first. And then Krautrock, as you saw me struggle to get to, Lindworm. I wanted to make an enemy...
really tough one.
Yeah. I wanted to make an enemy that would kind of uniquely... Because when I got to Lindworm, I was like, oh, Dragon Sickness, Gold. And then I was like, wow, all of these characters would have kind of an unusual interaction with currency. And so they would actually be immune to the Dragon Sickness, which would be a perfect reason for the Enclave squad to send them. So I was like, yeah, we're going to go with that. And then I've been researching the Hanseatic League recently, so I did some theming around that. And then the troll thing again came from Krautrock because the tradition of trolls turning to stone. And I was like, oh, what if they turn to ice? That's kind of a fun subversion. So it was kind of a mess that I'm hoping kind of came together.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting anything of it, to be honest. But it's amazing to see you work it some way.
It was fun. It was a fun challenge, and I'm reasonably happy with where I got to. I thought that the kind of oversized house dynamic would be kind of fun for this squad, and give them like an unusual interface. The one bummer is I did design this thing such that John's bike would be relevant in it, but just never showed up, which is fine. That's like he still was able to be pretty substantially impactful. I was just trying to make sure it could work.
So what was the design point that I obviously missed?
Okay, so remember the walkways, like the high walkways? Those were in the walls too. So you could actually bike around the house with inside of the walkways. But it was like a side thing. I was thinking, oh, he's going to get on his bike, he's going to be like, how the fuck am I going to get downstairs? And then the Hive, who's a rat, and going to find holes, will be able to help him get into that. So that was where my mind went to. But it ended up going in a different direction. The Hive going on his own side quest after starting the fucking house fire was not how I expected him to play that out.
Yeah, but I mean, the Hive always goes on a side quest.
Yeah, so real quick to touch upon that. Tomáš, the Hive is probably, for me, the single most surprising character in Advent, because I'm consistently surprised how fair he is. It is a fun character to host for, who makes me design in a different way that I think is fun. You burning down the house, when you first said you're going to do that, I was like, oh shit, that's actually a really good idea. And I was just like, yeah, I'm not going to throw a wrench in that plan. It's actually a great way to like flush out the worm, right? Because I don't know if you noticed this, it was hiding in glass and reflective surfaces. It was brought up later in the mission. And so burning everything the fuck to the ground, especially with its ice affiliation, would be a great way to flush it out and force it to fight you. Because as you saw, it could bar exits, though only one at a time, as it happens. But then you doing your communication thing and trying to find extra survivors. The fact that you found 4 people who would have been completely fucked otherwise was awesome. So really nicely done on that. And then the last minute assassination at the end was sick. Hive's reflex sensory build is so cool to design around, and was part of the reason I made this like oversized playground for it to play in specifically. God, I think that there was so many really cool moments on this one. I think for me, the thing that I was most pleased with the Hive on this mission was the use of the hand mirror smartphone, especially getting John to yell to wake up the Duggas. That was just so clean.
That was awesome.
That was great. It was such like...
Yeah, I mean, he has 2 pluses to vitality. Why shouldn't I let him
yeah. John's yell was awesome too. It was like, yell something loudly. I don't have time for this.
I was like, thank you, bye, Pink.
That
Yeah, and the Hive's personality is always just fun and sociopathic and weird, and it was just enjoyable.
Yeah. I especially loved how, I came up with a plan, didn't bother to tell anyone anything, said we'll improvise later, and then I did 0 improvising and let them do everything.
Secondly, Hasad. I wanted to make sure that Hasad would have a fun arena for his abilities by having the people be, like the staff be somewhere between ally and enemy. So he could kind of interact with them, but they'd get more and more difficult to work with as the dragon sickness set in, right? Your fork in the road to get through the blinding breath thing was one of the coolest plays. That was awesome. And I finally have gotten to see Hasad in like a true combat scenario, which was sick.
I was really glad to finally get to play him in a true combat scenario.
Yeah, I'm so happy about that. Like the move with the scythe to cut it as it was lunging, and then getting the lightning. Oh, so freaking cool. I loved that. So I thought that you paid off on the combat beautifully. Your initial investigation was great. I had a feeling you'd familiar face the fucking dragon, so I was kind of prepared for that. And yeah, just I would say overall, if there's such a thing as like a prototypical good Hasad mission, it was probably this one from my perspective.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I was considering using familiar face earlier on, but because, obviously any setting you go to, learning about the setting is going to be helpful.
I wanted to make sure you could do
thought, but I just thought to myself, would Hasad use it for this? Because, again, the whole point of his character is that he's trying to find the most interesting sorts of things.
Yeah.
And this place was, it's cool that there's, like, trolls and stuff, but it is effectively just like a kind of, late medieval setting, which he's probably encountered plenty of in his travels. So I think that knowing that there's some mystical hidden thing going on in the background, it made sense for him to hold off on using the familiar face until he could target the strangeness.
Yeah, I had a feeling that was what you were going to do, but it was just a guess. And I think that, your use of Fork in the Road on this mission in particular was exceptional. Plus the combat.
Thanks.
And lastly, John, I'm starting to get a slightly better picture of how to design for him. I'm really glad that I gave him an arena where his vitality stat could shine. Because this ended up being one of the most vitality relevant missions I have ever designed. Because there was a lot of yelling, hey, come here. And it was like evacuating. So yeah, you played into your vitality stat well. You played into his leadership capacities well. It was fun seeing you make use of that double skill, both during the combat and particularly while blinded. Great use of of your banner on top of that. I would say that for me, the thing I like when I was designing this mission, I wanted to give John an opportunity to play kind of like with Hasad, with the kind of shifting ally-enemy status, which you did pick up on. You're like, hey, they got affected by Garethynx, but I also want to make sure I can hit them with 2 arms. And you picked up on that, and I was really, really freaking pleased by that, because that was like the reason I went in that direction on this particular mission. So your initial Garethynx into 2 arms play, super underrated, but very important to action. And also, second thing, the taunt I got your gold, precisely what to do in that scenario. That was great. I'd say the last of the plays of yours that I really wanted to jump into would be specifically the way that you approached the snake. If it kept you at a range, you guys were kind of boned because it could just keep throwing projectiles. Forcing in and saying, nope, I'm just going to keep going in. Yes, I'm blind. I don't care. I'm going to keep going in. Plasma cutters, let's go in. Exactly the way to do it. Had you not gotten on top of it like that, and you and Hasad presenting such different threats, because he would distract it for you and then you would distract it for him, one of those strategies by itself would not have worked, but the two of them together played perfectly against each other. So nicely done on that front. Do you guys have any questions for me about calls, world building, etc.?
It honestly felt so cohesive that I was kind of sure this is some sort of a weird reoccurring setting.
I will tell you right now, I have never used any single element of this mission before. This was all
awesome.
Nice.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. I think I would want to. Sorry, I would want to add on top of that is that I sometimes feel, it feels kind of wrong sometimes to be matter of fact and pushing along with John towards the objective when you present such interesting playthings around.
I like being a poo head that way, right? But you know, I'm very glad to hear it. Thank you.
One thing I just wanted to add, since on the topic of people's characters and such, is I really like the way that John's banner works, the troops and that,
Yeah.
the modern troops, both the way that he runs them and also the way that you played them as NPCs in this mission. I thought that was pretty awesome. Like just the banter between them and such. Like
yeah, I thought that was
the
awesome.
asteroid mining bit, I really liked.
Yeah, as soon as
I have to say,
yeah.
I also love that John also has a guy who's called Johnson.
Yeah. As soon as Julian started doing the
Johnson.
banter, I was like, oh, this is great. And I wanted to lean into it because so often, I don't think you see that super often with Thane soldiers, and getting to kind of explore it more is very, very fun. So big props on that one.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts from
okay.
you guys? Oh yeah, Reece?
Question about the mission. So at one point, like I know that we were told the guy was already dead and such, but Tomáš, the Hive had listened at his chest and heard like tinkling noises and such. And obviously I did not know this in character, so I didn't act on it or anything. But I did kind of wonder, like, was he still theoretically alive? If I had fed him my nostrum, would that have helped him at all?
That's a great question. The answer is no. The tinkling was actually, you heard a similar thing later in the mission. It was actually the Verm's
reflective
magic.
surface.
Yeah.
I mean, ice is reflective, right? So
Exactly. It could hide in ice.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was one of the, if Tomáš had like explored that further, he might have learned a bit more about its power before you guys fought it, but it would have been tricky. Like the viewpoint was a really cool step in that direction. And obviously he saw the clock and he saw the thing coming out of the clock, and there was a bunch of different like places that he could have maybe poked further, but he had a building to set on fire, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Them rats got shit to do.
And because I saw something move out of the clock, I knew or had the feeling that I need to hurry up the evacuation.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So I would have maybe done a bit more setup, but like suddenly there's something weird growing out of the clock. I have no idea how to deal with it, so let's start a fire. And
the timer for this mission was, of course, eventually gold would start to get distributed to people throughout the house, and they would have started just turning to ice.
Yeah.
So
yeah, one other thing just wanted to add is.
Yeah, sorry. You go on.
Sorry, go ahead.
My question to add on top of that is, if had we played things more correctly, would we have been able to save the Hive?
I think so. I purposely made it hard to save everyone, and you guys managed to, thanks to the Hive especially going upstairs, you guys managed to save everyone besides one person, which is the wife, which is like one of the worst people to not miss, but that's still really good. Like, I think it would have been very hard to get everyone. And in my eyes, as one of you guys mentioned earlier, the way to save the wife was for sure to not let the master leave the room. Because he would have, gone to her, checked in with her, said, "Look, honey, look at this cool piece of gold I found." Bah, right? Because she was having a nap. So, and there were like, if you had explored it further, there were some like intricacies to how the magic took hold, like what it did to people at what times and what people were more susceptible to it. But again, it just plays into the oh, that's actually a great mission name, Ice Gold.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
like that one.
let's do it. Excellent proposal, Detour.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, since you brought up that, we were discussing that from Julian's question about like the early start of the mission and such, letting him out of the room and whatnot. I do find generally that for me, but especially when I'm playing Hasad, the start of the mission always I feel completely lost, and like it doesn't matter how if it's a simple mission or a complex mission, I'm always just like, yeah, I just kind of stand around for a bit. Like always happens when I'm playing Hasad. But somehow or another, like just that's why I have his attitude be what it is. Like the whole "oh, it'll all work out" attitude is just because I'm just like, I got nothing, so I basically just make it an in-character thing rather than an out-of-character thing.
That's reasonable.
But yeah, I definitely once things got going and I knew what I was doing and such, it was definitely a very fun mission.
Yeah, that was a big thing that the Hive did too, is take a lot of proactive action very early in the mission.
That's the way Hive does things, right? It needs to cause enough chaos to overpower the chaos that is currently present, so that then it has its own layer of chaos that it has under control.
Yeah,
So...
and then John is like the midpoint between the two. You know?
So, going off the theme of him being technically like a leader of sorts, I don't like to play too proactive. More in a team lead kind of way, to let the people do their things they're good at and try to run communication in between.
Absolutely, and I think you did great at that. I think you all played brilliantly, and I very much hope you had fun. So I say we sign this sucker off in the order we led in. Tomáš, Julian, Reece, would you mind giving your quick little outro, and then we'll close this thing off?
Alright, well, my name has been Tomáš. I hope you guys enjoyed the mission, and see you next time with another one of my feared characters.
Well then, I was Julian. I hope to be heard and seen again. Bye.
Lovely.
And I'm Reece. Likewise, hope you all enjoyed the mission, and hope you return to watch more in the future.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you guys so much for playing. You are fantastic, and I sincerely appreciate all that you do for us here in the Enclave community. I cannot wait to see you guys and play with you again. And to all those watching, thank you for your time, and ciao for now.